players are out there. The first ball is about to be bowled. I'll probably do the first ball as Isha's just plugging herself in. And, actually, are you in? You're done?
You're an excellent quizmaster, I have to say, Dan.
I'm off.
With the assistance of Andy Zaltzman. Here comes James Anderson bowling from the pavilion end. A nice, easy one to leave for Tom Latham, the left-handed opener. Bright sunshine here at Lord's. Nice, warm feel. Feel the breeze coming in through the window here. Just imagine people in their gardens, maybe a little barbecue on, listening to the quiz. In 64 years of Test Match Special, the very first one. I rather enjoyed it, Andy.
Thanks.
Questions weren't too hard, I don't think, as Anderson bowls straighter to Latham, who's defending back down the pitch. No run.
Well, that's good, given the difficulty you had recognising a pigeon from a seagull earlier on. Flattered.
Loved a bit of silly pointless. Loved it. Did you get all them right, Ish?
I kind of came in and out, but yeah, the ones that I was here for I got right.
Good. Did you get me on the honours board?
I did,
in front of Kirtley and Wazim and Dennis Lilly?
As Anderson's past the stumps to Latham, leaving another wide one outside the off stump.
Oh, you're a pint, Andy, for that question, mate.
It was perfect timing, really, with you coming on commentary, so you could just repeat your efforts.
Yeah, lovely.
Wonderful moment, though, for yourself.
Liked it. Silly pointless. First ever outing. And we witnessed it. We were there.
We were there. As Latham, bat hovering, stump height, taps it down, works it off his hip to square leg, no run.
What's happening here, Isha? What's going on with this game?
Interesting, isn't it?
I think about 100.
Yeah. New Zealand posting 378 thanks to that Devon Conway double century. He's positioned at the non-striker's end at the moment. England with 275 in fact. They were in a bit of trouble this morning, losing 4 wickets in the first session. Rory Burns continued to make a century at Lord's.
Good knock, wasn't it?
A very good knock. Composed when all of those wickets were falling at the other end. 3 slips and a gully for Latham, who's just remarking his guard. Anderson round the wicket. Approaches the crease now, winds up, bowls a short ball to Latham, who swivels out the way of it. Just leaning back. Looked like he was shaping to pull it, actually, and then pulled out of the shot. As he comes down the track to pat exactly where it was pitched.
Yeah, just got big on him.
Saw a few from Tim Southey, actually, with the new ball from that end.
And Rory Burns got hit on the head a couple of times with the new ball, didn't he? Which just sort of skipped on and bounced that little bit extra.
Anderson again, this time a good length, just past the top of off as Latham leaves that one. End of the over then, the first one, probing from Anderson. Yet to get off the mark then, New Zealand in their second innings. Yeah, where do you think it's at?
Well, it's a bit... Needs something, doesn't it? Needs England, really, to try and bowl the Kiwis out for something like 150 or something. But it's time now, isn't it, really? This is sort of... You just feel that it's... The game's sort of meandering a little bit. You need a little spell from Stuart Broad at 5 for 20 or something.
Yeah, we'll make the game in just 2 hours 20.
Yeah, still a lot of cricket left, I suppose, and all day tomorrow. If the weather doesn't turn up. If the weather turns up, I think we might be scuppered.
Broad to bowl from the nursery end, just readjusting his trousers. So there's a switch between mid-off and mid-on.
Or
Ollie Robinson moving over to mid-off.
Or on the other side, obviously, if New Zealand bat, and then bat, probably up to lunch tomorrow or something, and perhaps put England in for a sticky little couple of sessions.
It'll be interesting to see how New Zealand do play this. Is Stuart Broad is setting off round the wicket as he so often does against left-handers. Devon Conway resumes where he left off with his double century. Lovely forward push and defence to the offside, no run. Those shadows growing longer out in the middle as Broad receives the ball from James Anderson, who's readjusting his cap, wearing bright green sunglasses as Broad is setting himself up at the top of his mark. Arms pumping past the stumps to Conway, who leaves a rising delivery through to James Bracey. Yeah, New Zealand with another test match against England at Edgbaston, then the Test Championship final. Obviously, they'll be thinking about trying to push for a win.
Yeah.
But, you know, they'll also want to get something out of it by way of just getting used to this Duke's ball and the conditions as Conway. Bat hovering in the air as it's an inside edge to square leg. Good length delivery that just came back down the slope from Broad.
Yeah, they looked a bit rusty, didn't they, at the beginning of the Test match, New Zealand. They'd just be looking to, as you say, get some form and some feel back in the body again.
Conway showed tremendous composure and discipline. Certainly early on in his innings, he was a class above the rest, really, wasn't he? As he faces up to Stuart Broad once more. Here he comes, bowls full as he covers the ball to the offside, comes through for a single as Anderson is sprinting towards it from mid-off. And he'll get there easily. So New Zealand and Devon Conway off the mark. Lovely conditions. The mound stand basking in the sun. Over to our right, the grandstand in the shadows.
Should be a nice evening this evening.
Yeah.
Nice and stays light, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect conditions in the garden, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Sticking on the barbecue.
In a hammock somewhere, just wafting around, listening to CMS.
Is that what it's like in your garden, a hammock? There's Latham, still in his crease, forward and working the ball past mid-wicket to mid-on. No run.
Well, we've got a perfect little sort of mini orchard down the end of the garden. Got a couple of nice sort of fruit trees down there.
Lovely.
Yeah, it is. Have a little wander.
Good for cocktails.
Yeah, have a little wander down there. Jump in the hammock. Get the radio on.
Or if you're at the cricket as well, I'm sure there's a lot of cricket going on today. I used to peel away if I got out early, go and sit in the car and listen to the radio. See what was going on in the test matches. Broad bowls back of the length to Latham, again just working it to mid-wicket, and now just rehearsing back foot punches. That is the end of the over. So a lead of 104 for New Zealand. Kane Williamson out cheaply in the first innings for 13. Ross Taylor, 14. It was Devon Conway, really.
Held it all together, didn't he?
He did, a bit like Rory Burns. Henry Nicholls with a 50.
Yeah.
61 to him, but then Watling 1, de Grandon duck, Santner duck, Jameson 9, Southey 8, and then a flurry from Wagner of 25 in their first innings as James Anderson is vigorously shining the ball on his right thigh. 3 slips and a gully in position. Devon Conway with an open stance as Anderson bowls across him. Left easily.
Yeah, 2 similar sort of innings, wasn't it? The first innings. One fella at the top of the order, getting himself in and holding the innings together.
Gentle breeze in the air. Bright blue skies. It's been completely different to yesterday where
did that come
rain.
from?
It just came on. It was like it it all gathered above the ground as Anderson bowls down the leg side this time to Conway. He's not able to get anything on it.
Yeah, it's a lot of time to lose, isn't it? A whole day.
Just kept coming, the mizzle.
Yeah, it's a shame. Could have turned out to be a nice test match, this, but as it stands at the moment, you're kind of getting the feeling that it's going to a draw, don't you? Unless something remarkable happens. You never know.
Well, it might be a case of see how the first sort of hour goes, half an hour goes for New Zealand as the dark-haired Anderson bowls back of a length outside off stump, again across Conway down the slope.
Yeah, that's the one perhaps slight criticism about this New Zealand side. They strike me as being just a little bit safe as a test playing team, you know what I mean? Just sort of, and I think Williamson as well, they sort of graft their way into positions, don't they?
Yeah.
Instead of sort of taking the ball by the horn sometimes.
When you think about England, as Anderson turns at the top of his mark, bowls back of a length, this one extra bit of bounce as Devon Conway looks to defend on the front foot, but then has to pull his bat up even higher, almost like it surprised him. When you think of England's middle order, the likes of Ben Stokes,
Yep.
Ollie Pope, Joss Butler, that they can get themselves into positions where they can really force the issue
Yep.
and try and push for wins just by upping the scoring rate. Bat waving around from Devon Conway as he pushes out to the offside. Comes through for a single, moves to 2. New Zealand score 2 for no loss, a lead of 105.
But I think also, you know, New Zealand will be sitting there thinking to themselves, from what they saw in that first innings, you know, if they just can have a cheeky little session and a half, you know, this England batting lineup could fall down in a bit of a heap. So there's still something to play for, definitely.
Day 5, we've already seen a bit of turn.
Yeah.
Rich Santner.
Yeah. Bit of up and down bounce for the seam bowlers as well.
Anderson round the wicket to Tom Latham. Works it off his hip to backwards square as Robinson comes around to his left to collect the ball, and they come through for a 1. Latham off the mark then. Oh, in fact, it was a leg bye. So 3 for no loss, New Zealand. Lead of 106 at the end of the over. Andy?
Numbers 6 and 7 having a bad game so far. For England, we had a duck for Lawrence and a duck for Bracey for New Zealand. Watling 1, de Grandhomme 0 in their first innings, so 1 run between them. But it's not the worst performance by number 6 and 7 in the first innings of a test. That was on this ground just 2 years ago. England-Ireland, when both teams 6 and 7 got ducks. Moeen Ali and Chris Wokes for England, Gary Wilson and Stuart Thompson for Ireland. But this is one of only 2 other games in which they've mustered 1 between them.
They've beaten them by 1. I remember that game. Wow.
Amazing,
Left a lot of grass on the wicket.
Oh.
Tim Murtagh.
Perfect for him, wasn't it?
Awesome. As Broad bowls full outside the off stump. Latham allows it to pass.
Yeah, they was in a seriously good position to win that test match, weren't they? They just let it slide.
Yeah, wonderful moment for Ireland to be able to play here.
Yeah, did themselves proud.
Mark Adair do well. I think it was him and Tim Murtagh in partnership together as Broad around the wicket, turning this around the corner down to fine leg as Latham is searching for a 2 but is sent back by Conway. Throw comes in from Robinson. Sprinting towards the ball down in front of the tavern stand. 4 for no loss, New Zealand. Latham off the mark then.
You got an 8 for, didn't he, Andy? Tim Murtagh?
No, it felt like an 8 for.
It did?
Yeah, well, him and Mark Adair got an 8 for between them.
Oh, did they?
Murtagh 5 for 13 from 9 on the ground, where he's taken hundreds of first-class wickets for Middlesex. Adair 3 for 32.
Yeah, 5 for 18, wow.
Broad, another rising delivery outside the off stump.
That's leapt. At Conway.
Again, just looking to leave the ball, but then had to arch his back and raise his bat even more as it went past him.
Latham comes down and has a little chat to him. Does a bit of gardening as well.
Almost hit his armpit.
Yeah. He's just gone on the forward press, hasn't he? Just pulled his bat away and then whew, really did bounce.
Blonde hair. That beats the edge from Conway through to Bracey.
It's a beauty.
That was another good length delivery. Slightly fuller outside the off stump.
Yeah, angle into the left-hander and just bounced and left him. But great ball.
Stuart Broad looking after the ball. These two do look after the
Got to.
ball as well as they can. Get quite grumpy if there's any scuff marks as Conway covers the ball to the offside. Anderson with the pick up and throw, but they're through for one.
Yeah, I always used to forget that. Bowling the spinners.
Yeah, it was always the spinners that were the culprits.
Yeah,
5
mate.
for no loss.
It was a little bit. Apologies. But you're kind of looking to get that ball, if anything, drier, so you can get some purchase with your fingers on it, and always looking to get a bit of dust on your fingers, and then the dust gets into the shiny side and what have you.
It's a classic. If you're handling the ball, make sure you're holding the seam.
Yeah.
Don't get any other part of your hand on the ball. As Broad is through to Latham, who's squaring up and guiding it to Gully. No run. Zach Crawley diving away to his left to stop that from getting through. End of the over, 5 for no loss. A lead of 108 for New Zealand. Latham on 1, Conway on 3. Still plenty of people in the boxes, dotted around either side. Good to see Kumar Sangakkara yesterday, the outgoing MCC president.
Looked very smart, didn't he?
Yeah, with his egg and bacon tie.
Immaculate. Who's taking over, do we know?
Claire Connor.
Oh, of course, yes.
Historic moment.
Isn't it just?
He was here yesterday as well.
Yes, fantastic news, isn't it?
Yeah, really wonderful.
Yeah.
MCC Foundation doing a lot of good work as well.
Yeah, very good.
Helping underprivileged kids in key hubs around the country as Anderson sets off, running towards us. Beats the edge of Conway through to the keeper. Didn't see this too much from Conway early on in his innings.
He's just poked
On
it a
day
few.
one,
Yeah.
it has quickened up though, this pitch.
He's just poked that bat outside the off stump a bit, hasn't he? So good there in the first innings, wasn't he? Left beautifully. I know it sounds strange for people who perhaps don't, listen to cricket for the first time or something, that how you can play well by leaving the ball, but you can.
You were good at leaving the ball.
I was.
Conway back and across.
Well,
Works it to the leg side off the pad.
I think there's a slight difference between not hitting the ball and leaving the ball. But thank you, Isha.
Turning and facing the other way, was it, Phil?
Yes.
And hoping it didn't hit you.
Well, there you go. It's quite hard, isn't it, a cricket ball sometimes? Especially when it's being propelled at you by some great big fella only about 22 yards away.
Who was the scariest to face for you?
Oh, crikey, them all. Anyone who
Few
ran
of
in.
them.
Didn't like a moustache.
Merv Hughes was the worst then, as Conway guides one past Gully down to third man. Rory Burns on the chase, turn and throw as they come back for 2. 7 for no loss, New Zealand. Lead of 110. Conway to 5.
Well, it's intimidating out there, isn't it? You've got all of the fielders, the keepers, the slips. You're a bit on your own just with your mate at the other end. 70-odd thousand as well, all baying for blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, a little bit ticklish
Are you
sometimes.
talking about the MCG specifically?
Yeah, yes.
And Merv Hughes steaming
my
in.
debut, yes. What a place to have a debut.
Conway works this to mid-wicket. No run.
It was funny, actually. I was listening. We interviewed on Toughers and Vaughan Chris Silverwood, and he was sort of going, well, you nowadays you'd never dream of giving someone a debut at the Gabba, or something, you'd sort of get them into the setup and slowly sort of bleed them in and, give them a test match here and there so they don't walk out and on a debut against the Australians in the Ashes. MCG.
Yeah. There you go.
Good luck, Tuffers. Off you go, son.
Anderson bowls a good length delivery, squares Conway up, past gully. Finds the outer part of the bat. Rory Burns collects it at backward point. Scamper through for 1. Conway to 6-8 for no loss. Lead of 111.
Where was your debut, Isha? What did you? Who was your against?
Taunton
versus
India.
Ooh.
2002.
Yeah.
Flat deck.
Yeah.
And it was a time. So I was under 17, so I could only bowl 3 spells of 7.
Nice.
Yeah, so worked out quite well actually.
Excuse me,
they'd had like 400 on the board.
I bowled me 7.
Yeah.
I'm off. No more. Cool, that would have been handy. Yeah.
Anderson round the wicket. Edged, taken, James Bracey. They've all gone up.
Oh, he's giving it not out.
But it is given not out, and Latham just rehearsing his shot. He doesn't think he's gone. James Anderson now conferring with Joe Root and Bracey. There was a thuddy sound to it. I just wonder if it might have been thigh pad as it went through.
He's having a look.
He's going to take it upstairs.
It looked great. Everyone from behind the stumps immediately went up. It's not the old pocket, is it? Pocket of the trouser.
Spin vision, please.
Richard Illingworth, the third umpire. Is there any bat involved? Fuller delivery. Seen facing towards second
Okay,
slip.
it's hit the back leg, but we need to see if it's caught the edge of the bat before the back leg. So can we have a look at Ultra Edge, please?
Yeah, not sure with what we're seeing at the moment. This will tell us the Ultra Edge.
Okay, flat line, flat line. Okay, roll it through to the pad, please. Okay, it's clearly missed the bat and it's hit the leg. So can we now go for ball tracking, please?
Yeah, nothing on flat line, so no bat involved.
Okay, impact umpire's call, hitting the stump. So we'll go back to Richard on field. Richard, we've got a umpire's call on LBW. Stay with your original decision.
So actually, if it had been given out, it would have been out LBW. That decision would have remained because it was umpire's call on impact outside the off stump. So on the off stump, and then going on to hit the stumps.
So if the umpire, I might be digging myself a hole here. If the umpire had given it out for caught behind, and then that would have happened, would he have been given out or not out?
I think it would have stayed out.
It would have stayed out. They would have got to the right decision.
It's a bit of an anomaly in the laws, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
or
it
in
is.
the
It
regulations.
is, yeah.
So if that ball was cannoning into the stumps, and it was an umpire's call, it was hitting, even though the umpire sort of would have given him out for the caught behind, it could have been given out for the LBW.
Aggers can explain more as I shift out.
Excellent, excellent, absolutely lovely pass.
Thank you, Isha. So hospital pass. In goes Broad, bowls an off stump, goes straight through him. As Conway there prodded outside the off stump. Of course, he's learning quickly, isn't he?
So, John, yes, talk us through it.
I didn't really hear what you were saying. Have headphones on. Anyway, well, I suppose what you were saying was that had he been given out, caught behind, and reviewed it,
yes,
he would have been out LBW. They're reviewing one here now. He would have been out leg before wicket because the umpire had given him out. It doesn't quite make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Another player review.
Doesn't make sense.
Or call behind.
But as you say,
decision is not out.
This was a last-second decision again to review this one.
Yeah, they do wait. They do wait to the last knock-ins, don't they now? Oh, Stuart. What's that for?
Okay, pass it close to the inside edge.
I'll have a look.
Can
Just
we
another
have a look
thought.
at Ultra
They
Edge,
got
please?
umpire's call on LBW in the last one.
Flat line,
Yes.
flat line.
I'm just checking because I can't see on the screen,
Clear
but
daylight between bat and ball.
there's nothing there. This is not out.
We can go back to
Presumably,
Michael on field to stay with
they haven't
the
lost a
original
review,
decision.
although the umpire's calls for LBW are not for caught behind.
Original decision.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that,
you do.
that
Yeah, they
sounds
don't lose,
right. I
yeah,
think
they don't lose the review because it was
umpire's call.
Yes,
but umpire's call for LBW, not for what they were appealing for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't quite make sense, all of that.
Well, they got to the right decision in the end.
Yeah, they did.
That's what it's about.
8 for no wicket, and they will have lost one there. Conway on strike, on 6. 2 slips and a gully. Broad moves in a bowls to him. A little bit of swing there. But Conway pushing forward rather than getting a big stride forward. Plays that back to Broad, who's rubbing the ball on the back of his trousers. Not quite with the energy and enthusiasm that New Zealand rubbed the ball during England's innings. They really were polishing like fury on
Oh,
that.
they looked after it beautifully,
Really
didn't they?
did.
They really did keep it seaming and swinging. Lush outfield, of course, as well, so there hasn't been any reverse.
No.
You've got to do it orthodox.
Lovely afternoon now. The sun's shining wherever you're listening to us. Broad round the wicket. Bowls. Oh, that was a bit of bounce there. And Broad's got his arm raised again there. A howl of anticipation, but the ball just squirts away into the leg side. It's fielded at square leg. 8 for no wicket. Conway on 6. So New Zealand lead by 111. And if England can roll them over.
Yep.
120, 130 or something like that. There's still a chance for them to win this.
Got to get through this fella first,
Oh yes.
Mr. Conway.
Similarly, if New Zealand get run to the bank and bat, another 20 overs tomorrow or something.
Or up to lunch even.
Yeah, here's Broad, and this is defended by Conway. I suppose ideally they might want kind of a tricky 20 minutes for lunch or something.
Perfect. That would be perfect, yeah.
The last time these two played, New Zealand had a first innings lead of 134, and England went on to win after scoring 478 in their second innings, 162 from Alistair Cook and a pyrotechnic 101 from Ben Stokes, the fastest Test 100 at Lord's, and then they bowled New Zealand out for 220 on the final day.
Yeah, I remember that.
Had a good game, Stokes, didn't they?
Yeah. Bowled Brendan McCullum first ball, and there was a whoosh came through the window.
Wonderful
didn't
noise.
It wasn't it?
Broad. Oh, there's some bounce.
Ouch.
And Conway there ripped away the bottom hand off his bat handle, but I suspect he got a bit of a blow. Broad's got his hands on his hips, so he's looking rather angry about something. I wonder if they're going to get a short leg in there.
Not a bad idea.
It would have been really interesting if they played yesterday, what this pitch would have been like, because it is deteriorating.
It is. Well, it's been hot, hasn't it? We've had a couple of days, and then, if anything, that sort of really muggy day yesterday with the storms and what have you would have just got under the covers a bit as well. That really did leap, didn't it? Might be worth having a short leg here, John. You're right.
Well, they're getting one. Pope is calling for a helmet.
Gone a bit out of fashion, hasn't it? You loved them, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Love a short leg. Yes. Well, he's getting one in there now, which is good. It's not all about him getting the catch. It's what he creates.
Yeah.
In that the way the batsman plays, he's got to be a bit further back in his crease, for instance.
Yeah.
And the ball's swinging around, footwork got to be bang on. 8 for no wicket, so there is a short leg now. Conway's on 6. Tough start so far for him. Broad's on his way around the wicket, bowls outside the off stump, not far away. Broad again, he's got the right arm raised as he follows through. Now he's holding his head in his hands. Good theatrical stuff, and a good over too, because there was some bounce. And he's causing Conway a bit of trouble there outside the off stump. 8 for no wicket, the lead 111. And events of the day, let me just bring up to date people who haven't been with us all day. But I don't know what's going on. Well, of course, England resumed on 111 for 2. Root was out for the first ball of the day, caught at slip. It's a nice ball, he's pushed at it and nicked the ball low to Taylor. Pope made 22, who's LBW to Southey. Lawrence, a shot that he won't be proud of. Caught by de Grandhomme at third, slip off Southey for a duck.
Second ball, wasn't it?
Yeah. Bracey, naught, bowled by Southey. So 3 wickets fell with the score on 140. Anderson starts a new over. Latham plays into the offside, and there's no run. Then Robinson made a very good 42. 63 on with Rory Burns, who'd really got into his shell. He It was quite a fluent first 50 of his, but his second was really hard work.
And it just stopped New Zealand there because they were on a bit of a roll there.
They were. No, he did play well. He was caught in the deep hooking. Southey, that was Southey's 5th wicket. Wood also made a duck, so there's actually 4 England batsmen on pairs going into the second innings. He made a duck. Latham leaving outside the off stump. Broad made 10. And then Jimmy Anderson put on 52 with Rory Burns, who played a few shots after he reached his 100. He made 132, and like Conway, it was the last wicket, so neither of them managed to carry their bat throughout the entire innings. But with 10th man out, did give 2 chances, should have been stumped on 77. That was a bad miss, and that might have had real ramifications as far as the game is concerned, but bad miss.
It was.
Anderson round the wicket, bowls, and it's nudged into the leg side this time. Crawley fields, and he was dropped on 89, a ball that lifted from Jameson. There's a bit of juggling going on in the slips, and down it went. So Anderson finished 8 not out, and Tim Southey 6 for 43 from 25.1 overs. Carl Jameson 3 for 85, and Neil Wagner took the other wicket to fall. So a lead of 103. That's now been extended to 111 with a lot of play left. Well, supposedly 33 overs. Let's see if we get those. So it's due to go through to 7 o'clock tonight. Anderson bowls leg stump, beats the square leg fieldsman. Chase for Woods, scampering round the long leg boundary, throwing slightly off balance, so no real power in the throw. It's collected by Bracey. 2 more runs to New Zealand.
You've got to thank your mate for those hampers he's dropped off.
Yes.
Yes, very nice, weren't they?
Well, I haven't inspected mine yet.
Oh, haven't you?
I think it might be my dinner tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's out of the sun, isn't it? Because there's some fish sandwiches in there.
Are there?
Yeah. Might be a bit ripe if you leave it in the sun.
Well, it's at the back of the box.
Oh, all right, that's okay. Trout.
Oh, I'm glad he warned me of that.
Yeah.
Here comes Anderson round the wicket. Oh, beats him.
Beauty.
All moving away from the left-hander, who comes up and prods and pokes at the pitch at the end of his bat. Lovely ball from Anderson. I think, yes, it's dinner tonight.
Mackerel pate and everything might be chucking up a bit by about 6.
Really? Is there anything left in there that...
It's very nice. No, it's good. It's good. Enjoy that. Just keep it out of the sun.
10 for no wicket. Anderson round the wicket, bowls, squares Latham up, he defends, plays back to the bowl, another good over, challenging that off stump, but as yet England haven't taken a wicket. In the second innings of New Zealand, as they lead by 113. Nice moment was when Mrs. Burns appeared on the balcony when Rory Burns got his 100, holding little Cora Burns.
What, in the dressing room?
Up here.
Oh, no,
on the box.
Yes.
And so he saluted them and waved his bat at
Lovely.
little Cora Burns, who'll be, what, about 3-4 months old now?
Yeah. Tiddler.
Yeah. Don't suppose she'll be telling her friends about how she saw Daddy score 100 at Lord's, but at least she was here, which is great. And
Well, she'll get it on catch-up.
Well, that's true. Yes.
It will be there somewhere in the archives.
Broad's on his way, bowls, and hits come on the pad. Appeal flag before Gill. He wants this, he really wants it. Umpire Kettleborough is saying no. Short legs in there, putting pressure on Conway. He can't prod. The main thing for me of having the short leg, it makes it hard for him to get on that front foot. You see him trying to get forward.
Yeah.
The short leg actually keeps them hanging back because he knows inside edge into pad. So it's not simply a case of the short leg fieldsman taking a catch necessarily. It's how it just messes around with the batsman's footwork. And he was trapped there on the crease. And looking at the replay of it, umpire's call for direction there, just clipping the outside of the leg stump or just missing it. 2 slips, Broad round the wicket, bowls, Conway lets it go by. 10 for no wicket. Crowd on good form, sitting down and enjoying the day, all spread out.
Bit snoozy, weren't they? They've been a little bit snoozy after tea.
Well, it's all happening this morning.
Yeah, it was. Good voice.
And the boxes
Yep, they're busy.
full too. Edgbaston's going to be the lively one. Are you doing that game?
Yes, I am.
Oh, excellent.
Are you up there, John?
I'll be there.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something usually kicks off at Edgbaston, doesn't it?
10 for no wicket, in goes Broad, bowls down the leg side, Conway can't get it away. Bracey collects it, moving to his right. Well, it's going to be a full strength Hollies stand.
Is it?
Yeah. Using, I think the expression was using one's common sense. But
I think the weather's good as well.
that would be a first in the Hollies stand, I think.
Well, it
wouldn't
would, wouldn't it? Common sense post 4 p.m. in the Holly stands, during fairly short supply.
It tends to be abandoned in there around about lunchtime. So, well, that's the challenge, that stand, isn't it, there? Because it's a test event.
Yeah.
So you have to have a test first.
About 17,000 or something, that's
Yeah. Broad, bowls. Oh, again, that lovely wristy shot into the leg side that Conway unveils every now and then. He plays it off one leg. Gets one down to Robinson in the deep. The Allen stand behind him. Yes, so it'll be fun. But there's no limitation. You can bring fancy dress and that sort of thing, as they tend to do in the Hollies stand.
Good weather as well, hopefully.
Looks good.
Yeah, it looks good for the whole duration.
And then it's almost straight into the
Down to the
World Test Championship final.
You're bringing your ukulele with you down there?
Yeah, I might bring an assortment. We're bubbling down there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Back in the bubble. In goes Broad, round the wicket, very full, driven back at him.
It's not called the bubble now, is it? It's called the secure environment.
Secure environment.
Secure environment, yeah.
You've been in one of those before, haven't you? A secure environment. Weren't you admitted to one in Perth?
I did. Just for a short time. Just popped in for a couple of hours.
You escaped, I think, didn't you? Actually?
Well, yeah, it was a strange episode, actually. Yeah. I wasn't very happy.
No.
No. The wallpaper was a bit strange, padded.
Yes, he goes Broad outside the off-stump. This one keeps low. As Latham allows it to go by. 11 for no wicket. Runs hard to come by at the moment for New Zealand. Some very accurate bowling here. And not helped by the uneven bounce that's just sowing a few seeds of doubt in the batsman's mind.
This is where you could do with your spinner, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
It's always the trade-off, isn't it?
Bowl into that rough outside the left-hander's off-stump.
Let the quicks rest and just rotate from one end. The spinner holds up the end in the hot sunshine.
So you with us in that secure environment, Tuffers? You doing
Yes,
this?
no, I'm there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Yes.
Should be good. I'm expecting some really, competitive stuff.
It'll be really interesting to see how the game is played, won't it?
Yeah.
Because if it's drawn, then the trophy is shared.
Yeah.
So a draw is a draw.
Yeah.
Anderson moves in and bowls. That's flicked away off the hip into the leg side. So it's obviously in a team's interest to really battle away for a draw if they're in trouble. Sometimes you see, I think, teams say, "Oh, we're going to lose this," and they move on to the next game. But
Well, Virat will be up for it.
yeah,
He'll be absolutely buzzing around, won't he?
it's just short of match practice. I mean, New Zealand have got this wonderful preparation with these 2 Test matches.
Yeah, it's good. Even though it didn't do England any favours, did it? Going to Sri Lanka for a couple of Test matches and then going on to India.
Expecting a better pitch at Southampton than that one at. Well, there were two real bad ones. The second one at Chennai and was it the first one Ahmedabad or the second one Ahmedabad? I can't remember now.
Yeah, they weren't great.
No,
but I reckon it will spin.
there will be spectators there.
Yeah.
So it's a limited number.
Yeah.
Should be nice. 12 for no wicket. Latham waits, bat raised. Anderson round the wicket, bowls, and he gets into the leg side. Steals a single there to Broad's left at mid-on. Gets to work on it, polishing the ball, rubbing on his trousers. The screen's going to be moved because Anderson's going to come over the wicket now. Wasn't aware of the regulation, as it were, the COVID regulation about sweat.
Right.
Being changed, but it obviously has been. Because all the players have.
Oh, what with the ball and everything? Yeah.
All the players are using sweat now to polish, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't do that, could they, last summer?
No. 13 for no wicket. Conway's on strike now. Anderson bowls to him, hits him up on the thigh pad and trickles into the leg side, Crawley Field.
What did they use then? They did. They
couldn't use
could use
anything.
sweat. They couldn't use saliva, wasn't it?
They couldn't use anything.
Wasn't it?
I think.
I thought they sort of rubbed it on the back of their necks and everything. And I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember.
Can't remember. Locked
Actually,
out
you might
last
be
year.
right. You might be right, actually.
Yeah, I think it was sort of like they're sort of the smaller the back. They were sort
We
of
had that fascinating discussion, I seem to think, about how what's the difference between saliva and sweat in that
was it?
situation.
Ooh, yeah.
There must be some tests on sweat that suggested that it's not passed on that way. Now this is hit on the pad. This is a good shout. Anderson wants it. He's given an absolute full bellow. It's been given not out by Mr. Goff. Well, they've lost one review. Joe Root's asking for what everyone thinks here. Did it pitch outside leg stump? That's one possibility that they might ask. It's ticking away. 2 seconds to go. Oh,
just got it.
A really quick one. That's about a second to go.
TV umpire to director. We have a player review for LBW. Original decision is not out. It's a fair delivery. So can we have a look at front on spin vision, please?
Where did it pitch? So the question. I don't think it's going to go over the top.
No. It just didn't seem to have that shape about it for me. That sort of in-swing shape that you need.
The bat's quite
got a flat line.
Close to the ball. Oh, has he nicked it?
Oh.
Roll it through and come back. Come back to the ball next to the side edge. We'll go back to Richard on field.
Well, that's a waste.
Richard, I've got a clear spike. The ball is on the bat. So stay with your original decision.
A very good decision that was too. Richard Kettleborough. He heard it, and the players didn't. Isn't it funny how that happened?
Yeah.
I think Ruth will be cross because that's two. He's been pushed
Stuffed,
into doing that.
He's
Yeah,
stuffed
they've only got one left.
Been stuffed by.
And that was a lucky one. In comes Anderson, and he bowls, and that also hits the crouching Conway somewhere on the body, looking to turn into the leg side.
Yeah, it was just a scratch, wasn't it? It wasn't a big deviation. Yeah, so how can the umpire hear it and not all the...
It also pitched outside leg stumps.
Yeah,
Apart from that, it's a terrific review, that.
Yeah, absolute stinker.
And pitched quite comfortably outside the leg stump.
I think you should lose 2 reviews for that.
You should.
Got it wrong on 2 counts.
Yeah, that was a really poor one.
Clutching a bit at straws, Jimmy. Fancied it, though.
13 for no wicket. Conway on 8, waits for Anderson. That's around about that leg stump again. And Bracey goes to collect it as the ball runs away into a big gap. And umpire Kettleborough doesn't make a signal, so that'll come off a little edge or off the bat at least. So one more to Conway, who goes to 9. And it's the end of that over. So it's time for me to go. Simon Mann is coming in here after thoughts from Phil Tufnell.
Yeah, England have burned a couple of reviews, which they won't be happy about. It's the kind of wicket where I think you're going to need them up your sleeve as well. Good one, keeping low. But it's a pretty sort of slow start, a stodgy start by New Zealand. They're just getting themselves back into the swing of things. England have bowled pretty nicely. The odd one has bounced with the new ball outside the off stump to the left-handers, especially from Stuart Broad. Simon.
Good afternoon. Here's Broad then, going into bowl to Conway, and Conway comes poking forward, takes one hand off the bat there, thick inside edge, goes towards short leg, and there's no run. 14 for no wicket. England have bowled well in the 10th over. It's been a struggle for Latham and Conway. On another day, it could have easily have been 10 for 2.
Stuart Broad's wicketless spell. He's not taken a wicket in his last 5 innings, although he's bowled pretty decently through most of those innings. A few of them in those tests in Asia we didn't bowl that much, but he's now up to 76 overs without a wicket. He'd never gone more than 2 innings consecutively in his career without a wicket. But looking at the CricViz data, they have an expected wickets metric, Simon, similar to the expected goals that we see on Match of the Day. To give you an idea of how many wickets you'd have, bearing in mind the balls that the bowler has bowled, what he sort of deserved in broad terms.
Here is Broad bowling. That's driven nicely by Conway into the offside. It's picked up by Anderson at mid-off. Good, smart piece of fielding. It's a nice shot into the offside. Good piece of cricket with no run. 14 for no wicket. Conway has 9 and Latham has 4.
And during this wicketless spell, according to the Cricketers data, you'd have expected him to take around about 7 wickets based on his bowl. So he's been a bit unlucky. And to sort of illustrate how bowling goes, he had 3 for wickets in the innings in Sri Lanka before this sequence, and his expected wickets in that innings was 0.7.
Here is Broad bowling. Forward comes Conway, stabbing defensive shot up towards Anderson again at mid-off, and there's no run. Expected wickets discussed. Jeremy shrugs his shoulders. I mean, it's an interesting one. Is it what constitutes an expected wicket?
Well, I guess they have a database going back, I don't know, 15 years with all the Hawkeye data, so they can calculate based on
the balls that took wickets, similar balls that took wickets.
Yes. So I don't know exactly how they work it out, but it sort of gives an idea of, I guess, the threat level of a bowler.
And his consistency, presumably.
Broad bowls full, clipped away nicely, and that's going for 4 up towards the wide long on boundary. Good shot from Conway, hit that firmly, and we have not seen New Zealand break away at all, but that was a nice shot. 18 for no wicket, and the lead goes up to 121.
Well, what we've seen, I think, is a new ball on quite a dry pitch. And I mean, look at the colour of it now, very beige and biscuity coloured, isn't it? And sort of, Demerara sugar. It's been up and down, frankly. I mean, some have really quite taken off. You always used to hear about the lack of bounce from the nursery end, bowling from the nursery end. But some of them have actually bounced quite a lot.
Broad bowls, Conway comes forward, plays defensively to cover, and there's no run.
The England bowlers are, when bowling at Latham, are coming around the wicket a lot more. He only averages in the 30s when bowlers are, this is this data kind of thing, to carry on the idea. And he gets 40s, he's quite high 40s. He's much more comfortable with a right arm bowler bowling over the wicket to him rather than round.
Broad from the nursery and round the wicket to bowl to Conway. 2 slips and a short leg in. He goes in now and bowls outside the off stump. That one keeps a bit low. Bracey takes it tumbling forward.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to mention. Thank you. Lovely cup of tea. 16 stirs anti-clockwise. Excellent. And that really, I think, is that the lack of bounce and then more bounce is going to be difficult for Bracey. Where does he stand? And those kinds of things, he's going to be tested a little bit more as well, I think. So the new ball has done quite a bit. You can see both the batsmen just tapping things down. Conway's been hit on the gloves. We've had a bat pad put in at some stage. So it hasn't been an easy start for the New Zealanders. They will bat, I would think, quite in a normal kind of way through to the end of the day if they can.
Anderson round the wicket, bowls. That's sliced away on the drive by Latham. Goes to backward point and there's no run. What do you think might be in their minds ultimately in terms of the number of overs they want to bowl at England with number of runs in the bank? And the lead at the moment is 121. We've still got 28 overs after this one left in the day's play, or an hour and 35 minutes cricket. They've gone nowhere really in the last, since they started their innings, but it's not been easy out there.
No, it hasn't. I think they're really in survival mode at the moment. I think up and down is one of the hardest things to do and to confront as a batsman. That's the most difficult.
Anderson bowls, that's a beauty, past the outside edge of Latham's bat, and I think he acknowledges that. It was a lovely delivery from Anderson, taking the ball down the slope. Latham felt he had to play at it, missed it. He's come down the pitch to prod the offending spot.
But what he did quite well was, he missed it. And he's just held the line. In other words, he hasn't followed it and adjusted his shot once he sees the ball just move away. Just held the initial line. It's actually quite a nice skill to have if you can. I was an adjuster always.
Anderson tries again from the pavilion end, bowls to Latham. Latham comes solidly forward and plays out towards cover, and there's no run.
The other thing that's quite useful, swing bowling you can do something about, I think. As a batsman, you can kind of get an idea what the bowler's trying to do. Seam bowling a little bit more difficult to know which way it's going to come, and you're trying to get your foot outside if you can, and outside the stumps, outside off stump. But up and down, I think, is the most difficult. You don't really want to be staying in line. You're forced to, really, because they're the one that's keeping low.
Anderson bowls. Latham plays across his front pad there, defensively towards Broad at mid-on. And actually, pitches that start up and down. I mean, you talk about poor pitches, poor pitches in cricket, and that is an example of a poor pitch, isn't it? One where the bounce is uneven from the start.
I remember Sabina Park, Jamaica, against the West Indies attack when they were in the 8, that quick bowling outfit. And that was really a nasty pitch where you were having to stay in line with the ball just a bit longer than you wanted to be. At least if it's bouncing, that's okay. You can have a thrash if you want to over the top.
Anderson and Latham plays quietly towards cover, and there's no run. So what do you mean Perth, for example, when you talk about bouncing?
Yes, you can.
Perth, at least there's...
Yes, exactly. You can let go on bounce sometimes, can't you, on length? But,
Because there was a debate in the winter about what constitutes a poor pitch, because there were the test matches in India as the series went on. There were balls taking pieces out of the pitch early on.
Right.
Whole chunks would come up.
Yes, that's not a good sign.
You wouldn't think so, would you? There was there was a lot of controversy about whether those pitches were poor or whether it was just poor technique playing on them. That's a nice drive from Latham back past the bowler up towards the straight long on boundary. The chase is on. Robinson up towards the steps that go into the pavilion, and what do they get? Only 2 there. 20 for no wicket at the end of Anderson's over. 6 overs, 1 maiden, no wicket for 11 from Anderson. 5 overs, 1 maiden, no wicket for 8 from Stuart Broad. By the way, if you've missed any of the day's action, a reminder you can watch video clips on the BBC Sport website and app. You can go to the text commentary, you'll find all the clips there. And 7 o'clock tonight, BBC 2, today at the Test, our highlight show, or it's available on the BBC iPlayer to watch at your leisure. And we saw Rory Burns 100 today, 132, last man out. And the last wicket stand of 52.
Played well, didn't he?
Yeah.
The first part of his innings, which was what? Day 2, wasn't it? Feels like a long time ago. He looked very comfortable. New Zealand didn't bowl particularly well at him. They were much better today.
Broad continuing. Bowls to Conway, and Conway plays to mid-on. No run.
Until the back end of the innings, where they fell away. So it's quite a good thing for them to have that and then learn from those kinds of things. A couple of mistakes were costly. But this morning, Burns couldn't really get more than a single, could he? He spent a lot of time going from about 59 to 70, wasn't it? I don't know, about 13 or 14 runs in the 2 hours. Not many.
Yeah, well,
not many.
From close to lunch, 59 to 72.
Yeah.
Broad bowls, and Conway comes forward and plays it back to the bowler, and there's no run.
So he had to fight through that period and just accept what was on offer. And then finally, of course, after the 100, he was able to express himself a lot more and play with more freedom.
And a little bit before the 100 as well, because he had to bat with Anderson, so he had to expand a bit, otherwise he might have been stranded. But
it was a good innings. It was, and to do it, and it'll be memorable for him because of where it was, I think, as well.
Yeah, will he be on the honours board for the first time?
What, his third 100?
Yeah, 2 other 100s were at Edgbaston and in Hamilton.
Yep, that's right.
Broad bowls. Oh, and that one goes right through Conway. He plays the curtain rail shot there, coming across the ball.
Goodness me.
Not that dissimilar to the first ball he faced in Test cricket, where he played a similar shot. It was nearly out first ball. There weren't many instances in that first innings where he looked under pressure or struggled or was beaten. Yeah.
Just held up enough, didn't I? I thought the angle that it was bowled and delivered from was going to take the stumps. I don't know how it didn't bowl him, but it actually just held its line and, if anything, went up the slope just slightly.
So we've seen both openers in this match, or 2 openers in this match, dominate their various innings and nearly about all the way through. Broad bowls, Conway's forward, playing that to extra cover. The difference between Conway and Burns is that Burns actually had, I think, a lot more luck. There were 3 LBW shouts that, if they'd been given out, would have stayed out. So he got away with 3 umpires' calls, if you like.
Right.
And, they were not out, they were benefit the doubts, but if the umpire had gone the other way, he'd been out. And 2 drop catches as well. Sorry, 1 stumping and a drop catch.
That's right.
Both of which really should have been taken.
Yes, the stumping certainly, that was on the outside of the bat, not in between. That's the most comfortable for a keeper.
Broad in the late afternoon sunshine moves in and bowls to Conway. Conway flicks that away down to deep back of square leg firmly. A single, England have a fielder there. Lawrence, and it's 21 for no wicket, Andy.
Yeah, on the opening batsman dominating an innings mentioned earlier on, so in the second time that openers from different sides have batted with number 11s in the same test of the Adelaide test of 50-51 when Len Hutton and Australia's Arthur Morris did it. But there was a test that Jeremy played in Dunedin in February 1980, a famous test match, and Desmond Haynes batted all the way through for the West Indies in both innings and was last man out in both innings, batting with Colin Croft. A rather sensational match. Maybe you can tell us your memories of it, Jeremy, after this.
Here's Broad outside the off stump, close to off stump, and a leave from Latham. But good judgment. Broad just can't understand how he can't get a wicket. It's another over that ticks by. It's 21 for no wicket. They have bowled well. They really have challenged these New Zealand openers. You talk about expected wickets. Is that when you sort of watch on without all those stats and all seeing where the balls landed and all that sort of thing, you have that feeling it could easily be 10 for 2, and that's probably sort of expected in a sort of expected wickets area. That's what you feel. Your feeling is justified by the stats when they come up with those expected wickets statistics.
Well, I guess it also helps selection, doesn't it? You haven't got many wickets, Mr. Broad. However, we know you haven't changed your bowling line too much. You've got the lengths to show us that it's exactly the same as the times when you were getting 5 and 6 wickets.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary that just the number of wickets as a selection process.
Yeah, we often say on another day he would have taken 5 for, you finished with 1 for 50, you say on another day he'd have taken 5 for 40, and it's that sort of idea, isn't it, really?
It's the same idea, yeah.
Right, Robinson is into the attack, who made 42 earlier with the bat in a very important stand with Burns, and his first ball is on target, and Conway pushes it into the offside, and there's no run. So that match with Desmond Haynes,
that was an Otago. It's not used any longer, that ground, is it? Carisbrook. Yeah, that's not. It's now a semi-industrial area that you pass. And poor old Bert Sutcliffe, who was one of our famous players, a beautiful left-handed, just a sensational-looking player, came here in 49 as a youngster.
Robinson bowls, and forward goes Conway, pushing it to mid-off, and there's no run.
And part of his ashes were buried there, and they can't find them now. That's not a cricket ground any longer. It's just demountables and semi-industrial, as I say. So that's a bit of a shame in a way. But I do remember that match a little. I think it was the first Test match of that series. I think there were 3 Test matches. It was that series against the West Indies which was really, there was a lot of anger.
Unpleasant
and
series.
Very unpleasant to play in too.
Robinson, and Conway plays a very similar shot to the ball before. Right on target, Robinson, and Conway pushing forward to mid-off, and there's no run.
And I think it was from that match, Simon, that famous photograph has been taken of Michael Holding drop-kicking from halfway and putting a goal over, and the stumps spread-eagled and the things flying. John Parker playing with his glove at the time. It was pathetic. What are we doing that for, John? What are you pulling? Oh, you can't go for that. I just touched it, that sort of thing. So
Here is Robinson outside the off stump. I think just to elaborate on that story, John Parker was batting, and there was an appeal for a catch, wasn't it, off the glove?
Oh, yes.
And it was given not out.
Yes,
but
nearly ripped his glove off.
Parker was sort of wringing his hand afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is quite good evidence that he might have gloved it.
Might have, yes. You can't walk for that, he said.
So the scores were West Indies 140, New Zealand 249.
Yes, now lots of LBWs. Richard Hadley, I think one of the little, because he got an LB, and I think he either got his 100th wicket or 200th Test wicket, perhaps 100. Don't know.
Robinson Past the umpire up to the stumps, bowls outside the off stump to Conway, who's on 14, allows it to go through, taken by Bracey.
But a lot of LBWs in that game.
Hadley took... Sorry. Hadley took 11 wickets in the game, 5 in the first innings, 5 for 34 and 6 for 68. 7 of his 11 wickets were leg before
There we are.
wicket. And ended up with New Zealand chasing 104, winning
9 down.
by 1 wicket.
9 down. Terrible running between the wicket between Stephen Bock, our number 11, and Gary Troop, our number 10.
Robinson bowls outside the off stump, no stroke from Conway. When you refer to the LBWs, of course, there were New Zealand umpires in those
They were.
days. Are you suggesting that some of them might not have been out?
No, it was very low. The
Right,
pitch was
okay.
very low. I mean, I don't know, because second slip you can't kind of sometimes tell the line so much, but you can certainly appeal on height, and you're going with other people, of course. And Richard tended to bowl pretty straight.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't offline too often.
That was the only Test series the West Indies lost in the 1980s, is that right?
Yes.
I think
Viv
that's right.
Richards didn't come to New Zealand. He went to Australia and then went back home. But everybody else was there, and there was a sense, I think, maybe they soon changed their mind, because we'd just played a one-day game too in Christchurch, where the West Indies were looking like they were going to just wipe the floor with us, but we ended up winning that game. And when we won that match down at Carisbrook, and then it turned very nasty in Christchurch, where Colin Croft ran. Well, he bumped into. I don't know how would I know whether it was deliberate or not, but certainly I was batting at the non-strikers end, playing my best cricket up there, and Fred Goodall just disappeared from where in his normal position, straight out to mid-wicket, just flew out there.
Because he was
It bumped. Yeah.
He was the umpire.
And actually, he was the umpire, and
Meanwhile, here's Wood
Yeah.
into the attack for England from the nursery end to bowl to Latham with 2 slips in, and his first ball is a straight ball angling in, and it's clipped away but straight to mid-on, where it's picked up by Broad and there's no run.
it was a little odd because Colin Croft bowled from such a wide position on the crease with his front foot outside the return crease, or just angling. It felt as if he was actually bowling when you were facing him, kind of like extra cover coming at you.
Did you feel that in that series the umpiring was poor?
Oh, there were mistakes.
Yeah.
Have you not had mistakes in other overseas tours before? Of course. I mean, everywhere you
Here's
go.
Wood bowling. Inside edge onto the pad, possibly there from Latham. Otherwise, there might have been a big shout for LBW from Wood. Ball rolled out towards short leg.
Don't forget in those days that New Zealand cricketers were Saturday afternoon cricketers. We weren't professionals. We had a couple of professionals playing, like Richard and like Jeff Howarth and people who
were
played
playing,
here.
Yeah, playing Candy Crush.
But other than that, and it's the same with the umpires. They were Saturday afternoon umpires, and they just hadn't seen the pace
Yeah.
and to make decisions in split seconds.
Wood steaming in, bowling to Latham, and Latham on the front foot drives to mid-off, and there's no runs. It's 21 for no wicket in the 14th over. New Zealand's openers here having to work hard, and they just sense that if 2 or 3 quick wickets went, then of course they might be under a bit of pressure in the game, but if they can see this off and get towards the close, too many problems, then they've got a chance to control the game tomorrow. But I mean, you have to say
It's a very important phase of the match here. Just the New Zealand openers seeing things, trying to remove the threat if they can.
Wood bowls, and a straight ball played away by Latham towards Broad at mid-on, and there's no run.
Very good. I mean, you don't like to. It's not practice for the final. Let's make that clear. But it is very good build-up, and you couldn't hope for better, could you? Really, the ball's swinging. It's not easy. You're having to know where your off-stumpers, getting forward, all those kinds of important things for a batsman.
There's a good tussle out there at the moment. Neither side is giving anything. You'd feel draw big favourite in the game, but things can change. Here is Wood bowling down the leg side. It's gloved away on the pull, down towards the fine leg boundary before. Latham there tried to swing Wood away, and down towards the pavilion, went very quickly off the glove. It was wide of Bracey, no chance, no possibility of a catch. 25 for no wicket, and Latham, well, he's had to work hard to get into double figures, and he's managed it. And what's this, the 15th over of the innings?
What I do remember, Andy, about that match as well was our selector, a man called Frank Cameron, who played for New Zealand in 65 and 69, was a good medium-fast bowler, in the sheds underneath.
Here's Wood to complete the over, 25 for no wicket, and Latham comes forward, defends to cover, and there's no run. You can continue that story, Jeremy, and Dan Norcross is coming in.
Yeah, and Frank was one of those selectors who watched every ball, and he'd quite often come in and he'd be wiping his hands on his handkerchief. You know, he perspired heavily, lived every ball of the Test match. And so I was out and was standing beside him watching on the television, and it was a very close match, as you say, 104, and we were 9 for about 100, something like that. There was a bit of a partnership with Lance Cairns getting a few. And when we finally won, he leapt up in the air, and in one of these dingy there was a labyrinth of changing rooms down under the stand at Carisbrook, mainly rugby area. You know, they had a good year at the cricket. They've renewed the sawdust under the stand.
Robinson starts a new over, and it's left alone by Conway through to the keepers. It goes across his bows, no run.
He leapt up with the victory, you see, and then split all his head on the collar tie, going across, holding the roof trusses together, you see.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So he left bloodied, but unbowed. No, that's yes.
Yes, well, I was going to say we've all done it, but I'm not sure we have. That's a nasty one.
Well, he was excited, though.
Yeah, but you
the
won.
expression of it. We did win by 1 wicket.
That's by far the most important thing. Robinson is into Conway. 2 slips, 3 slips, really. As it's clipped away beautifully through square leg. It's going to run away up towards the grandstand, and it'll just gently plop onto the boundary sponge for 4. It was on the pads, 2 full, and there's nobody out there on the boundary. And Conway with that moves to 18, 29 without loss, New Zealand.
Just not quite the nip that we've seen from the opening bowlers, and so with Robinson, and I just suspect that there's not that up and down bounce that we were seeing with the new ball on the dry pitch. I think that's just altered slightly. Maybe he's bowling a slightly different length.
What do you make of the ends that they're bowling from? Because Robinson was taking wickets, wasn't he, at the nursery end, and Wood was bowling from the pavilion end in the first innings. As Robinson is in, and that's angled across Conway, and he just plays it into the ground and on the angle towards that wide third slip, almost gully position. There's no run. Well,
certainly Wood was at the pavilion end, wasn't he, when he started to pick things? He got Nichols from this end, if you remember, in the second morning, and got him caught down at... In fact, Robinson caught him, didn't he? But they kind of changed it round a little bit. I remember Robinson getting 2 wickets from the end he's bowling now, from the pavilion end.
You got two from each end?
Yes.
Here is Robinson, and Conway always beaten on the outside edge. Came half forward, and it snaked past his outside edge into the gloves of Bracey. No run, the score remains. We have got, in theory, 24.2 overs left, which won't happen. We've got an hour and a quarter left in the day. I think a hopeful estimate might be 18, 19 overs. I'd say 3 and over from here, which they're not going out at the moment. No. But if they did, that would be 86. That'd be a lead of 189.
Yeah. It's been a struggle, hasn't it? Big struggle for these two.
Robinson in. Conway works the ball, full ball, into the onside, where Broad, in his sun hat, fields at mid-on, and there's no run. It's been a struggle to score runs fluently throughout the game.
It has. It's been a slow pitch, and there has been some up and down movement when the ball is a bit newer, and it's also, there's a wee bit of turn there too, isn't there? So route might be useful, I think, with the left-handers. I mean, it's a go. It's worth having a crack, isn't it?
From the nursery end, you're assuming? Here comes Robinson, and that's played and missed out again. This time a shorter ball going around about waist height through to Bracey. He essayed a little poke did Conway, but he didn't get anything on it. 29 without loss. 15 overs have been bowled. Conway 18. Latham has 10. You leaving me, Jeremy? You are. Oh, well, it is a moment of sorrow. As Michael Vaughan comes to join us, that is the moment of joy. I'm not sure that the pickle theory is yielding much at the moment, the third innings pickle theory, that New Zealand have weathered the storm. England have bowled well and reviewed badly. That's been the story of the New Zealand second innings, and Latham and Conway have rode their luck, but they've managed to stay put as Wood starts a new over. Latham clips this into the onside in front of square. He'll get at least one for it. He'll stick to one. So throw comes in from the square leg boundary. 30 without loss. Latham moves to 11. Hello, Michael.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Dan. Good evening, everyone. How did your quiz go?
Well, I mean, it's not for me to say really, but it was tight. It was a tight tussle.
Who won?
Tim won. He beat Eddie by 3 points to 1.
And what club was Tim representing?
You like to give me these, don't you? Newton Abbott Cricket Club? Was it Newton Abbott? I'm so many things happen in a day. I've got it written down. It was in Devon. Forward in defence comes Conway and pushes this ball.
I bet it's
the
nice
full
down
face
there.
of the bat up to mid-on. There's no run. Yes, I've
down
got a
in
bit of a
there.
hankering for that.
Oh, yeah. I like Cornwall.
Oh, here we go. It was Newton Tracy. I'm so sorry. Newton Tracy Cricket Club in North Devon. Tunbridge Mill Hillians was Eddie Curtis's team.
Ah.
So there's all the info. Yes, Newton Tracy, their third 11, are embarking on a journey in the H Division East, and had a resounding victory in their first match, which was terrific news. Wood in, 2 slips and a forward short leg, and that's a thick inside edge from Conway that'll bring him a single as it runs down to long leg. One more to the total, 31 without loss. It was a tight tussle.
H Division, that's a lot,
Yeah.
lot of leagues, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it also sounds a little bit kind of, it's not military, more it's police, doesn't it? H Division.
Yeah.
It's sort of line of duty type thing going on there. That's what's coming to my mind, at any rate.
Down in Devon, lovely.
The rolling hills of Devon.
I've been to a place, Foy in Cornwall. A couple of times, lovely down there.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Isn't it?
Lovely
Saturday today.
Lovely pasties.
Wood in, worked into the onside, full ball, and he'll get a single. Oh, he'll get more than a single. There's a poor bit of fielding. Is that?
I think it's Craig Overton,
It's
yeah.
Overton out there who's substituting, and they've come back as a result for 3. Did they get 3 there, Andy? It was 3. 34 without loss. It was a regulation bit of fielding, and he was on the square, but he just didn't time his lurch to the ground, which is what it sort of amounted to. It was a bit of a sprawl, and the ball just went underneath him. Didn't quite make it to the boundary. On a day like today, where food has been abounding, it's difficult for your thoughts not to turn to pasties, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, the pasties down there, the Cornish pasties. There's a nice little shop on the corner down in Foy that you... Oh, lovely.
Wood hurtles in, up on his toes, goes Conway and plays a shorter ball into the offside.
Now, you're a trendy
Run.
chap, Dan.
I am.
What do you make of England's captain's sunglasses? I see
Yeah.
them more in a Chris Gale Universe Boss kind of style than the England
Yes.
cricket test match captain.
I know exactly what you mean. They don't appear to necessarily to fit the style and temperament of the man, but I like somebody who tries to get themselves out of their sort of normal zone.
Do you think that's what he's trying
I
to do?
think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to channel the inner flamboyance that we know has always been there with Root. As Wood is in. And he's beaten him. That's a beauty. There's an appeal for a caught behind. It would be an inside edge, but it's not hit the inside edge. And Wood can't believe that he hasn't got his man one way or the other. We've not seen Conway defeated often in this match. He was run out, if you recall, in the first innings. Didn't put a foot wrong. And that last ball from Wood just went straight through him. A knife through butter. And he survives. And drinks are coming onto the field because we have an extended session today. We're going through till 7 o'clock to try and make up the overs. We won't end up making up all the overs because the over rate's been pretty mean, pretty lean as well. And New Zealand 34 without loss. The lead 137.
The game is in danger of drifting to a draw. If you've missed any of the day's action, though, a reminder that you can watch video clips on the BBC Sport website and app. Go to the text commentary, you'll find all the clips there. And from 7 p.m. on BBC Two, you can see Today at the Test, our highlight show. Or it's available on the BBC iPlayer to watch at your leisure with some of the actually all of the biggest names in Test Match Special are all available, as well as some other names like Craig McMillan, Ali Mitchell's on there, Michael Vaughan. It's hard. I mean, it's basically everybody, isn't it? But, well, I say everybody. It's not quite everybody.
If ever a TV highlight show needed brightening up, you are that person to do it, Dan. With that outfit on, I have to say.
Always available. Always available, Buck.
You have to have a word with Adam. Put a good word in.
Yeah, well...
Maybe later on in the summer, when you as long as you continue to wear clothes like that.
Are you happy with them?
Yeah, we'll just... we'll trial you out with your... Well, that is a flowered shirt, isn't it? Yeah.
It is a flowered shirt.
Blue and white flowered shirt.
I'll tell you, I've got a bit of an issue at the moment, Michael, on the clothes score, which is that I've got a lot of blues, which I'm very pleased with. I like the blue. But I've got a couple of sort of signature sort of Kermit the Frog green type things. And I've forgotten actually to buy a jacket for the last 15 months. And the one I've got on, as you can probably see, is falling apart.
Yeah, the shoulders have gone, haven't they?
I've gone a bit geography teacher. And the thing is, I mean, no disrespect to geography teachers, but they're like they're sustainable, aren't they? So they wouldn't buy clothes willy-nilly. And I need a green jacket. So I was discussing this with my wife last night, and she got up a few pictures of what she thought were green jackets. Totally wrong. It's so brown. By green, I mean the colour of the grass.
You want bright green, don't you?
Well, that's green.
Yeah.
I want green.
Yeah.
I want green.
I know the green you're after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you've got any tips on that, I'm very much in the market for a jacket because I haven't bought one.
It's got to be a
years.
blazer style green.
Well, I quite like linen actually.
Yeah, linen.
Green linen. Sort of green linen jacket. Yeah. I could go down as far as olive green, but I don't want anything more muted than that.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
If you're in the market for that.
I'm sure you're going to make the TV highlights, Dan.
Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But anyway, yes, do watch the highlights from 7 o'clock tonight. The text commentary as well, marvellous. Amy Lofthouse is in residence. Is she today? Oh, she is. I think the nod from the producer. And if you've missed our View from the Boundary with Alan Davis, which was a cracker, it's now available as a TMS podcast. BBC Sounds is where to find it. And you can find Sounds on the BBC website or as an app. And you can also listen back to TMS in full on Sounds. And if you're the sort of person who does it, do get in touch. Do let us know if at the end of the day's play you just rewind and start all over again. Why wouldn't you? Takes you to the next day. Start of a new over. We're resuming after drinks. Robinson is in, driven by Latham with no timing. A full ball up to mid-off. Anderson does
Andy,
the filming.
can I ask
There's
a
no run.
question? Andy, has there ever been two players that has been on the pitch for all the first 4 days?
Oh, that's
So
a genius
Rory Burns,
question. Yeah.
Devon Conway, so far have been. I don't think either of them have been off the field as to go to the toilet. I haven't seen that in the field. I think they've both fielded fully for their team, and they've obviously been out there batting for their team right till the end.
And neither of them carried their bat. Robinson is in, and that's worked into the onside around that pad by Latham up to Broad, and there's no run.
Well, we mentioned earlier on, the only other test match in which openers from both sides batted through the innings to play with number 11 was the Adelaide Test in the 50-51 Ashes. Len Hutton and Arthur Morris, the two openers. Hutton for England, Morris for Australia. So I guess they probably did it.
Well, when did the second innings end? That's the key, isn't it?
What was that longer, you think? So what?
Well, so what Mike's saying is that they've been on the both these players have been out there for all 4 days.
So we could be going into the 5th day, and two players have just been out there for every single minute.
That's right. Robinson bowls a ball wide of the off stump.
All right, we've missed a day with rain, but we don't mention that.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter technically.
No.
I mean, yes. I suppose technically, yes. But I like this idea.
Yeah, it's a good
one.
Yeah, it gives Andy something to do. But it was a great innings from Rory Burns. And what kind of shows you in Test cricket, he gets his 100, and all of a sudden he started to really play with flamboyancy. He played a pull shot, and he played a glorious drive, played a deft touch to third man in between second slip and fourth slip. It shows you that just a little boost of confidence of getting 3 figures, just unleashed the shackles and just started to play and flow. It was lovely to see.
Robinson in again, and that's full and defended back up the wicket up to mid-off, and there is no run. 34 without loss, New Zealand. Andy, have you got something?
They came pretty close to it. So it was a similar match in that there was no play on day 3, although that was an official rest day. And then Morris was run out in Australia's second innings just before the end of day 3. Right. So, yes, we're up towards matching that, I guess.
Wow.
I like this. Alrighty. Robinson up to the wicket. Shorter ball is defended off the back foot by Latham, dead straight. Both these batters play with very straight bats, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, we've been looking at Sibley and to an extent Lawrence. We didn't have much time to see Lawrence because he only faced the 2 balls, but talked a lot about how their bats come across. And Pope getting in a bit of a tangle as well, didn't he, with the LBW. These two.
Yeah, I think what I'd describe both the players as being compact. You know, they really play tight to their body, let the ball come. You don't often see the hands going away from their body too much. Because they're playing an aggressive shot, it's still with their hands quite tight to themselves, so they're controlling the stroke.
Robinson will have to bowl this ball again because there's a slight disturbance behind the bowler's arm in the pavilion, where they should know better. I don't know what that disturbance is precisely. Can't see much happening behind. It's a beautiful, glorious sunny evening. Fantastic now. Real warmth coming in through the window, the box we're in.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but because of these times, not all the coaches and management can sit on the England balcony, so they're kind of spread down the bottom end, just in front of the long room there.
Oh yes. Robinson's up to the wicket, and that's not taken an edge. I'm sorry, I thought it had taken an edge, and it died just in front of a diving Bracey. But it beat the outside edge, which hasn't happened too often. 34 without loss at the end of the over. Commentary continues on 5 Live Sports Extra, digital radio, online and via BBC Sounds. But Radio 4 long-wave listeners are leaving us briefly for the shipping forecast.
That was a nice take from Bracey. That it dipped on him, just swung as well away from him, down low to his left. Took it well in that left hand. Yeah, you can just see, I think... Lots of Chris Silverwood, Jeetan Patel, Paul Collin would have been sat down below.
Yes.
In amongst the members.
Yes, I now this is going back to me because I think I saw a tweet about how it had rather disrupted the plans for the members on their first day as they come back because they went to sit in their usual seats. Lo and behold, who are these upstarts?
Why haven't you got your tie on?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Exactly. Wood, right arm, round the wicket, full ball, pushed out with economy by Conway through mid-off, which is a vacant position there, and Anderson had to move firstly to his left and then towards the boundary to collect the ball, which he has done, and 2 more to the total. Conway to 21-36 without loss. New Zealand, and the game's got a somewhat soporific feel to it on this Saturday evening. I went downstairs very briefly to sample the air, and I bumped into a chap who is grandson of a former English teacher of mine by accident. As Wood is in, and that's tucked away down to long leg, and there's a single. And the reason for mentioning this is that it's sort of the opposite story to the member story. He was supposed to be in the Compton stand, upper, but it wasn't available. So he got bumped up into the debenture area and was given one of the old wristbands where you may imbibe freely. And so he had a bit of a Cheshire Cat grin on him in his face. Joe, I believe his name was.
Did he grab it with both hands?
He really looked like he had been. Yes, he sounded as if he had.
It's about taking your opportunity, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it is. When it comes along, you've just got to seize that opportunity. As Wood's got a leg slip in now, and bowls a straight full ball, which is pushed into the offside by Latham. Straight to the field, there's no run.
Yeah, I just did talk about both these pair of opening batsmen for New Zealand. They're very compact, but they have really good alignment. So, a lot of, what we talk about, Dom Sibley, for instance, that left foot seems to go over to the offside. And his head kind of goes in and he plays across the line of the ball. It's worked for him. He scored lots of runs in county cricket. He's having a difficult time of it at the minute in test match cricket. But you watch both these players, their alignment's just neutral. The front foot, the right foot for a left-hander doesn't go over to the offside. It kind of goes down the pitch. So they can get access to the ball a little bit easier. And they're just nice and upright, nice and still.
Wood runs away from us, bowls short ball, which is pulled out and doesn't really get much on that, doesn't Latham? Sort of a little bit of body, I think, if anything, and a leg bye has been signalled because leg slip had to then run up to collect the ball, Sibley, and they've gone through for that single. 38 without loss.
Yeah, Duncan Fletcher used to always say, as the England coach, you know, you've got to have a technique that will look after you when you misjudge length or you don't quite pick the ball up out of the hand quite well enough. Your technique must look after you. And I think both this opening pair for New Zealand, they look like they've got techniques that, you know, I think they'll get looked after in times of need.
Here comes Wood, and short, pulled round the corner, down to long leg for a single, 39 without loss. It's exemplary, really. It's not particularly flamboyant. New Zealand's batting lineup may not quicken the pulse particularly, but it gets the job done, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's solid.
And Conway, I mean, they must be absolutely delighted they've found Conway.
I can't believe England missed him. We're usually pretty good at seeing South African players.
Yeah, but the Kiwis have got quite handy at it lately, haven't they? You know, they're like the Grondoms and
Been a bit cheeky, haven't they?
Wagner.
They've set up an academy there as well. It's a bit disappointing.
Clever. Wood in to complete the over. It goes through low, left alone, low through to Bracey. 39 without loss. Conway has 23. Latham has 14. The lead, 142. Game's just dying a little bit at the moment. More thoughts from Michael Vaughan, then it'll be Simon Mann.
Yeah, they've done well here, New Zealand. There's been plenty of playing and missing. Lots of balls have beaten the inside edge as well. There's been movement. I'm going to bowl nicely. There's just enough out there for the seamers. Joe Root's going to potentially have a bowl. Two left-handers, a bit of rough outside the left-handers off stump. Scorching day, it's beautiful. Lovely. Evening, Simon.
It's always lovely down south.
Well, I would say,
apart from yesterday.
And maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. And throughout May.
Yeah.
Here is Robinson bowling to Conway, and Conway drives straight at cover. Good looking shot. Hit it well, crisply. Straight to the cover fielder. And there is no run. Stuart Broad back on the field. Overton was on for a while. Pope there in the cover, stopping that. 39 for no wicket. It's a really beautiful early summer's day. Really settled. Flag, MCC flag fluttering gently above the grandstand away to our right hand side. And Robinson rolls in from that far end and bowls. He's bowled him. He's got through Conway. And the ball hit the top of the stumps and went through to Bracey, who took the catch. It was a strange one. Robinson takes his 5th wicket in the match, and England at last get their first wicket in this New Zealand second innings. They bowled well enough to have taken 2 or 3 so far. It has been really hard work. And it was an inside edge onto the top of the stumps, then it went through to Bracey. So Conway is on his way after his first innings. Double 100, no repeat. It's been hard work for him and for Latham. He has gone for 22, and New Zealand are 39 for 1.
Yeah, it's just that length, that in-between length. Do you go forward or do you just hang back? He just got caught in a couple of minds there, Devon Conway. Inside tickle back onto the stumps. He's been impressive. So has Ollie Robinson. 2 really good debuts. One from a New Zealand perspective and one from an England perspective. And finally, Burns and Conway, and their time at the crease, their time during the match just being on the ground, it's come to an end.
No, 22 or 23. On the board it says 22, on TV it says 23.
I'd take 23 as a batter, wouldn't you, Simon?
I'd make it 23.
Yeah, what are you taking? You'll be taking...
I think it's 23.
23.
So Conway out for 23.
It took England 411 balls to dismiss him. Well, England's bowlers, excluding the run out.
Yeah, I've noticed with England in the second innings, they've come over the wicket a little bit more to Devon Conway. They've tried to bowl that leg stump line. I just wondered to think they've got just an angle that they can attack him with, where he's just got maybe a bit of a blind spot. He gets every now and again shut off slightly to the ball that's coming back. I just noticed in the first inning a lot of it was around the wicket and a lot was kind of outside the off stump. they've kind of tightened the line up in the second innings. They'll have some data on him. They've seen something.
But to highlight how well New Zealand's openers have done in this game, no wicket for Broad or Anderson in either opening spell of both innings, and it's only the second time in England's last 31 home tests that neither Broad nor Anderson has taken a wicket in the opening spell of an innings, first or second.
Right, Kane Williamson is out there at number 3. He struggled in that first innings. He looked a bit out of sorts. Played on to Anderson as Conway has just done to Robinson. Here is Robinson, bowls to Williamson, and Williamson plays defensively up towards mid-on. The ball barely gets there. Picked up by Anderson. 39 for 1. New Zealand's lead is 142. There is 55 minutes, or there are 55 minutes left in today's play. So there's 21 overs on the board. We're not get close again, are we?
Just on debuts, from an England perspective, it's up there with one of the real quality ones, isn't it? By Ollie Robinson. I know he's had his the disappointment of what came out on day one, but in terms of cricket, of what he's delivered, in the first innings, bowling with the bat in hand.
Bowls there to Williamson, and Williamson plays in defence again. The ball goes hard into the surface and bounces up. Williamson was dancing down the pitch. They're looking for a single. It wasn't there. Lawrence came in from cover to pick up.
There you go. Alistair Cookie got 100 on debut. Strauss, Matthew Pryor get 100 on debut. This is a good debut.
In terms of just first innings, scoring over 40 and taking 4 wickets, I mentioned earlier on, only the 12th player in the history of Test cricket to have 40 plus and 4 or more wickets in the first innings with bat and ball of a debut Test. The last to do it for England was Darren Gough back in 1994.
Here goes Robinson to bowl to Williamson, and Williamson, as he would draw the bat, difficult to tell. It slid past the edge and through to Bracey.
Gough got over 40. Who was that again?
New Zealand, wasn't it?
65 and 4 for 47.
Oh, that's right. He had that massive white helmet, didn't he?
Williamson did play at that. It was a good delivery from Robinson. And well, the question is now, what are they going to do with him after this Test match? Whether there's going to be some sort of disciplinary process, whether he's going to be, whether he's going to be taken out of the side for the next Test match at Edgbaston, taken out of the squad. Robinson bowls, forward goes Williamson. Williamson plays that towards cover, and there is no run. This is the end of the over. A successful one for Robinson. He's got figures of 4 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 4. It has been on the field a very impressive debut from Ollie Robinson. Very useful stand today with Burns, because England were 140 for 6 when he came in and in danger of being asked to follow on. And they took the score to 203 for 7, so they added 63, of which he made 42 of those runs. And he played positively as well. He gave the New Zealand bowlers a chance, but he also played positively. And he has been in good form with the bat this season. He's also been in good form with the ball, and he's continued that into this Test match. You talk about players, some people suggested old players a bit rusty, but some of these players are 2 months into their season, aren't they?
Yeah.
Certainly Robinson.
I think it's over-egged, all that rustiness. Players play all the time these days. And I have to look at the standard of cricket in the last year. They've not been able to play the first-class games leading into the Test series.
Wood bowls round the wicket outside the off stump to Latham. He allows it to go through to Bracey.
Yeah, you could argue that West Indies last year, they arrived, won that first Test. Pakistan put up a good show. England away from home, actually, in the winter, they almost got worse the more they played. They were better at the start.
Well, they won the first 2 Test matches of the 2 series they played in Sri Lanka and India. Although you could argue that actually the India series, that was the third Test in those conditions. So it was the first Test of the series against India, but third Test in those subcontinental conditions. Wood bowls outside the off stump, guided away by Latham down towards backward point. Burns is there.
We had our little bromance, didn't we, in Salford for the Sri Lankan series. Me and you, Simon, commentating on the Gaul Test matches.
I never thought I'd get to see you at 4 in the morning, Michael.
Well, yes. There we were at different desks.
Yes, we had to wave to each other. We were so far apart.
We couldn't quite get the hot water out of that machine, could we? Couldn't work it out for a while.
I worked it out by the end of the series, but it took me a while. Yeah, so no hot drinks. Not for me, anyway. Well, not unless you went and filled them up. Here's Wood bowling. Turned away by Latham into the onside. Good stop at mid-wicket. The fielder there doesn't know where the ball's gone. Is it Lawrence? It is. He has stopped it. And when he got up to pick it up, he looked around and couldn't find it anywhere. It's a good sharp piece of fielding by Lawrence. One of 4 England players out for naught in the first innings. Bracey, Lawrence, Sibley and Wood. And only one player going past 50. It's a decent sort of pitch, isn't it? But there's something there for the bowlers, and not many of the batsmen have come to terms with it so far. Just seeing the red mat go down for Mark Wood, he's running on the pitch. And that delivery, anyway, they've shown on the monitor.
Yeah, I think it's been a really good test wicket. It's unfortunate we lost the day.
It'd be a good game without that day lost, wouldn't it? It really would.
Certainly would have been more rough. The spinners would have come into play.
Yeah. Wood steaming in. This extended run of his now, and that flies through outside the off stump, but Latham let it go. Just wide enough for him to shoulder arms there. I think this pitch hasn't quite got the spinners it deserves. Do you know what I mean by that? So, some quality spinners on this surface.
Yeah.
Even tomorrow could make things happen quite quickly. Imagine India bowling on the last day here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ashwin and Akshar Patel or Jadeja might be quite tricky. And I really would have backed them if they'd had that extra day as well, and to get a decent score on the board, have some time behind them. Wood bowls, and Latham doesn't know too much about that, and actually bounces hard into the surface and over the stumps. Latham was looking around, where's the ball gone, as he came forward and played defensively hard into the pitch, and it bounced behind him. Bracey had to step forward and pick up.
Yeah, India are a high-class team, and they've pretty much won everywhere bar here. And to Australia, that was a remarkable series win in the winter, with so many players missing. That last test match in Brisbane, the chase, what did they chase, about 330, something like that?
Yeah.
Rishabh Pant, Washington Sundar. If they come here with a fully fit squad, 5 test matches, you would have to say that.
Wood bowls outside the off stump and clouted away by Latham. Half stopped at backward point, but it's rolling down towards the Warner stand into the shadows there, and it's gone away for 4. Burns got something on it, but he could not prevent it from going to the boundary. So 4 to Latham, a wide delivery from Wood.
Yeah, I think you'd be England are hard to beat at home.
Feels like India's chance though, doesn't it, this time, don't you think?
You would be disappointed having seen the way India play and to see their squad in depth and their combinations and their batting, their quick bowling, their spin options. Rishabh Pant, Jadeja will be back. Ashwin, they've got such a good team that you would be disappointed if the result's similar to what it's been the last couple of tours, where you felt that particularly, it wasn't last one, I thought they tried to compete hard in the last series. England were just too good, they played better. Well, the series before, I thought they just threw in the towel as soon as it got a bit tough. I wouldn't expect that from this Indian side. I think it'll be a really, really good series, and England are going to have to be on the game.
Do you think India might be marginal favourites in the series?
I would have India as favourites.
Yeah. It's going to be a big challenge for England. Robinson bowls, Williamson plays defensively up towards mid-on.
I mean, especially if England, I believe that England want flatter wickets to try and get used to playing on those kind of surfaces to lead them better into Australia later on in the year. And if they play on flatter wickets, this Indian batting line will be licking their lips.
Well, also, if you play on flatter pitches, drier pitches, you win the toss, you get decent runs in the first innings, then your spinners might come into play in the final innings for India.
Well, generally, the second part of our summer spin plays a big part.
Yeah, it has done. Robinson into bowl to Williamson, who's tapping away furiously at the crease. Plays half forward defensively, but that's the offside, no run.
Their pace and their seamers, they're up there with the best as well. It's an Indian squad that has pretty much got every base covered, from all the different spin angles to pace options. Ishant Sharma tall, hits the deck hard. That's a Shami and co that swing it, Bumrah.
Now it's going to be hard for England. But they have resisted India at home, as Michael said. In the last 2 series, they've thumped them, really, although the last series was quite close. The test matches were quite close. Robinson bowls, Williamson defends to cover, and there's no run. The But England won the series. They won the decisive moments in the matches to take the series out. Was it 4-1, wasn't it?
Yeah. India won. Why did they win that Test match?
I want to say Trent Bridge.
Yeah, I think it was.
Butler got his 100.
Yeah, I think it was.
England winning a tight game at Edgbaston, where India looked like favourites actually going into the last day. I think England, top of my head, England won by 33 runs, was it? Something like that. Williamson plays defensively into the offside towards backward point. There's no run. They also won a tight game in Southampton as well. But they showed, they really did sort of set their stall out in Australia. That was a really eye-catching performance to come back and win that series, especially after being bowled out for nothing in Adelaide.
If they come here and win, and then T20 World Cup, if it is going to be played in India, I think they'll be favourites for that as well.
Yeah. Williamson yet to score. 3 slips go down, and Robinson moves into bowl to Williamson. I think, he went to play at that, might have withdrawn the bat at the last moment, and it's through to Bracey. Here's an email from Andy Millard. He said, Devon Conway started his Test career with a batting average of 200, which of course has dropped to 111.5 after his second innings. I've been wondering which player has the longest Test career with an ever-declining batting average. Could you possibly have one of the commentators pose this devilish statistical query to Andy Z? This is Robinson. To bowl to Williamson. Williamson lets that one go by outside the off stump. It does come back down the slope, but after the ball had gone past the stumps. He says, by trial and error, I found Noel Harford of New Zealand, who played a total of 15 innings with an ever-declining average. Has anyone done better, in inverted commas? Harford's scores were 93, 64, 0, 1, 4, 25, 1, 9, 23. With the 23, he was perilously close to improving his average of 24, and then 0-3, 0-0-2-4. I think it is fair to say it got worse for Noel Harford, didn't it, after his 93 and 64? Things declined rapidly. And his tight-lipped to my right-hand side. He really is. He's got his lips pursed.
I'm happy to go with Noel Harford on that
one. Well, it is coming up to 6:20 on a Saturday evening on the 4th day.
It's official. It's Noel.
Right, it's going to be Jimmy Anderson to bowl. He's taken Mark Wood off. 43 for 1 New Zealand. It's taken them 21 overs to get there. England...
They have bowled well, actually. Yeah. They could have picked up a couple of others.
275 England made today. And New Zealand's lead is 146 at the moment.
And there's been a nice little bit of just an odd bit of an uneven bounce, but they have hit the right spots. There's some birds out there. Tom Jenkins, who's the Guardian's award-winning bowler, photographer, was noting there's a lot more birds at Lord's.
Yeah, you don't think of pigeons or birds or whatever at Lord's, do you? You think of them at the Oval, but not at Lord's. They're pecking away on the wicket ends at the moment. Anderson bowls, that's forced away for 4 by Latham. Not a great start from Anderson, he's turned his back on the game. He's walking back to his mark. He knows that was a bad ball. It disappeared up to the Warner stand. The shadow's being cast by it. And Latham goes to... Is it 22?
22. Yeah, maybe the pigeons have missed live cricket as much as everyone else.
Maybe. And he said there were seagulls. He's seen seagulls here, and he doesn't remember seeing that. And there was apparently, he gave me a rundown this morning, that there were crows chasing the seagulls, or flying after the seagulls, trying to protect their territory, he thought.
Anderson bowls, it's full,
that's
driven away, that's going up towards the grandstand. It might not get there. Burns is after it. He disappears into the shadows. And Latham comes back for 2. It's a scuffed drive there from Latham. He goes to 24. It's 49 for 1. Well, it's been an intense few days for Andy. Lots of stats. And just to cheer him up, we'll mention that if you missed the news quiz this week with Andy Zaltzman, you can listen back on BBC Sounds. He actually hosted it live. Well, live recorded.
Not live.
He was live. You were live.
Well, I was live when it was recorded.
You were alive, yeah. From the TMS box this week. Anderson bowls. Forward goes Latham, playing that towards cover. And there is no run. How many more in the series have you got?
None.
Oh, that's it. Is
That's
it?
it. There's
Right.
8, but there's 8 you can catch up with on BBC Sounds back in September.
Right. Why doesn't it run every week? Is there just not
They have
enough-
other shows. I think Dead Ringers is back next week.
Oh, right.
I think the Now show. And then,
I've just stifled my oh good.
thank you, Victor.
What, Dead Ringers? You like Dead Ringers, do you?
Yeah, very, very funny.
Right.
No.
And better, but where would you place the Now Show, the News Quiz, and Dead Ringers? 1, 2, 3 on the hip of Latham down towards Fine Leg for a single. Give us your 1, 2, 3.
Well, obviously, I
Victor.
start with the news quiz, and then I don't know where to go from there.
You should have been in the diplomatic service.
I know.
50's up for New Zealand, 50 for 1. Latham on 25. Williamson still yet to score. Coming down to face Anderson. Look at the overs left, Victor. 18 overs left. And play is going to finish in 35 minutes' time.
Yeah.
So strategically, from New Zealand's point of view, they want to win the game, and by bowling their over so slowly, they'll have done themselves out of, what, 8 or 10 overs?
Well, we missed 13 overs over the first 2 days, and we're probably going to lose 8, 10 today. As well as the day yesterday. Anderson bowls to Williamson. Williamson plays into the onside. He wants the single. It's not there. Wood is keen and quick, coming in from mid-on. Picks up and returns to Bracey.
Usually, I'm not too bothered about over rates, but I think you all have a point in this match. When people start getting grumpy, as they do, and there's about 12 or 13 wickets falling, the match is tearing out. And there's mumbling about, oh, they haven't got their value for money because of a few overs haven't been bowled. I don't really follow it. But in this game, actually, the game hasn't been moving that quickly. There's a lot of seam bowling, of course.
Yeah. Oh, Anderson goes in and he's back to bowl, and Williamson pulls away. He might have got a piece of dust in his eye there.
With all the extra interruptions with DRS, concussion checks,
helmet, yeah.
isn't there then more need for the administrators to try to accelerate the game? There's no sport which benefits from unnecessary dawdling, is there?
Well, no.
Crown green bowls, maybe?
No, dawdling is a problem.
50 for 1. Anderson bowls to Williamson. He's still on naught. He plays defensively back up the pitch, and there is no run.
And
So around about 40 minutes to go on this 4th day, and for the next 20 minutes it will be Jonathan Agnew. 50 for 1 New Zealand. They lead by 153.
I think the teams have been more culpable in this match. There have been a few, concussion stops, and there might be COVID cleaning of ball stops or whatever. But it's partly to do with the fact there's very little spin bowling, partly to do with the fact there is quite a lot of agonising about whether that, over field placements, and the game stops while you have a chat about X, Y and Z, which sometimes seems unnecessary. And some quite long run-ups too. And we've got Robinson comes in a long way, Broad comes in quite a long way, and no spin of note.
In comes Robinson, and he bowls outside the off stump to Latham, who's been hanging on. There's been some good bowling in this session. There really has. They've beaten the bat a lot.
Yeah.
But just the 1 wicket to show for it, and that was, again, off the little inside edge into Conway's stumps. 50 for 1, Latham 25. Williamson, who began scratchily in the first innings, actually, is not yet off the mark. He's faced 12 balls.
Run him out. He's a slightly scatty runner. That's one of his weaker elements. So he's not got many weak elements.
Robinson, shoulders rocking, comes in from the pavilion end and bowls, and Latham plays rather across his pad. It's fielded at mid-on by Wood. A change of scenery. He's usually to be found down here at Broadstown, here at Fine Leg at the moment. Looking up to the box in which the players' wives and girlfriends are located today, including young Rory Burns, who I think at the moment is being bounced up and down there.
Oh, yes.
Certainly a young baby in there. 50 for 1. Robinson on his way. Over the wicket, bowls down the leg side, brushes something, boot by the sounds of it. It's going to be 4 leg byes. Broad could do nothing about that.
I don't think they better
Very
review it because they've squandered a couple of reviews already.
Yes, 2 very poor reviews. 4 more to New Zealand to add to their lead, which goes up to 157. 35 minutes left of play today. And they're not back for a couple of hours tomorrow, perhaps.
I think they're back the entire first session.
Yes, here's Robinson outside the off stump, this one. I would imagine when they started the innings, they might have had in mind just a pre-lunch declaration, just giving them 20 minutes or something, but they haven't scored quickly enough.
No.
Or haven't been allowed to score quickly enough.
No, I mean, they bowled
well.
well. But now they're sort of thinking, well, let's just make sure we get to the close with lots of wickets around, I think. But England have been very disciplined. I mean, Robinson here has 6 over. Well, so far he's bowled 4 maidens. He's got the 1 wicket.
Here he comes again and bowls. And beats Latham again. It happens so often. And again, Latham comes up and prods the pitch with his bat, tapping away. We've seen a lot of that today. Doesn't make any difference. There's been a heavy roller chugging up and down on that for days, so I don't know quite what a little bat tapping is going to do. That's what a batsman does when they feel unsettled.
Well, I think it's like a bowler kicking at the footmarks when they've just bowled a long hop. The batsman, if he plays and misses, goes and does a little tap down because there's obviously a blemish in the wicket.
Yeah, pitch's fault. Robinson again moves in, bowls to Latham, who drives him, not absolutely perfectly timed. There's a dive there from Wood coming across from mid-on. And that keeps Latham down to 1. A typical wholehearted effort from Wood, who's bowled flat out from this end again.
Yeah, I don't know what you think. We were watching in the other box. He bowled nearly exclusively to the left-hander Latham, I think. And he just persisted with that around the wicket attack. And I just couldn't quite see how he was going to imagine getting him out, really. I mean, I know it's a slowish pitch and it hasn't got much movement, but I would have thought it might have been worth coming over the wicket and just looking for the outside edge. And sometimes at Lord's you look for the outside edge from this nursery end, but one will hold up in LBWs in the start. I thought the persistent around the wicket with a very fine leg step, I couldn't see how it was possibly ever going to get there from around the wicket. But anyway, he looked like he needed a right-hander to bowl to, but he never quite got the chance.
No. Anderson's on his way. Latham's on 26. Anderson bowls to him. Ball that swings in, that usual Anderson shape. And Latham picks up 1, turning the ball around into the leg side. So goes to 27, 56 for 1. Can almost smell the barbecues all being lit up around the country. Perhaps they've already been lit up. Got the scent of a neighbour's fired up the other day. It's wafting over.
Well, there wasn't much barbecuing going on in May, I don't think.
Anderson bowls. It's played by Williamson into the offside, still not yet off the mark. That's his 13th ball. And there's the shadow of a floodlight pylon right over the pitch now. When you and I first started playing, that would have been considered to be off-putting, wouldn't it? I mean, even play was disrupted at times if a shadow encroached on the pitch. Let's get on with it now, thank goodness. But yeah, they'd have been talking about this, wouldn't they?
And then the close fielders, make sure the close fielders' shadow didn't
They weren't allowed.
impinge.
No, or they'd walk off. It seems amazing now.
Hang on, what's
going on? There's something with the ball.
Perhaps Joe's unhappy with the shadow. No, I don't think so.
I think it's the ball. Goff's got it at the moment. Studying it. He's got those umpires' rings around it, so as soon as it doesn't do what it's supposed to do,
they're going to get the ring out and see if it'll go through it. Oh, there's a new batch of balls being summoned.
Yeah. Yes, England have been trying to get rid of this one for a little while.
Yeah. Well, I think they may now have succeeded.
Yeah. I mean, it's not been a very lucky ball for them. It has moved around, but it simply hasn't found the edge. It's beaten the bat so many times. I'm afraid it's finally being dispatched, and it'll have a new life as a net ball, I suspect. Probably here at Lord's.
Okay, Michael Goff has made his decision. No doubt someone will give it an immense shine to try and brighten it up a bit. Joe Root's doing that.
Joe Root's sunglasses are something to behold, aren't they?
Yes.
Sort of things you might see on a beach on the Costa del Sol rather than fielding at Lord's.
But he's got one pair on his eyes and another pair on his cap. He might have perhaps he's got Jimmy Anderson's sunglasses sort of perched at the top of his cap.
Could be. They're more like goggles, these things.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a skier, aren't you? You could imagine those in Verbier or something.
Yes, I don't think I've got anything quite so dashing as that.
Out on the piste.
I haven't been skiing for a while. I'm not quite sure whether I suppose I'll go skiing again. I don't know. One day.
56 for 1. A little delay there again. More twiddling of the bat from Williamson. Where's he going to get his first run from? 13 balls he's faced. There's 3 slips. Quite a tight offside field. Can't really just push and run. Anderson's on his way. Bowls him down the leg side. Shoveled into the leg side. And in the air too. Bouncing just in front of square leg where Burns is fielding.
It's not quite in rhythm, isn't it?
No.
Usually a feature of Williamson, like Root actually, is he sort of gets off strike easily and he ticks over and he's got 20 and you haven't really noticed him, but he's not quite got his rhythm yet, and England are bowled well at him and he's a little bit restless. Like he's mortal. He doesn't like being on naught.
Well, there's been so many ducks in this game. Most of them English. Anderson bowls, and that's nicely played. That defensive shot he just plays so easily. Waits for the ball to come. Perfect position. Just plays it into the offside and then walks away. There's nothing elaborate or anything about it at all. Completely unfussy, unhurried. It's a perfect defensive shot. Very straight bat. He's a twiddler. A couple of good bat twiddles. Him tapping away at the crease. Anderson's over the wicket to him. Bowls, and he's got it away, has he? Yes, he has. Only for 1. Diving save there at backward point denies him any more. But he's off the mark for some reason there. Mark Wood gives a little tap on the hand from mid-on. I don't think he said, "Well done, Kane, you're off the mark," but it was an interesting...
It's almost like they hadn't talked to one another in the match so far. Just...
Hello, Woody, how are you? Yeah. He wasn't around very long when he batted.
That's true. He taps the bat very hard too. You can hear him banging that bat into the crease.
2 slips for Latham, and as he tends to do, he plays rather across his pad there. Ball's fielded in the leg side. It's the end of the over. On this lovely late afternoon.
Took Kane Williamson 16 balls to get off the mark. That's the 4th longest in his Test career it's taken him to get off the mark, and the longest since January 2015.
Maybe that's what Woody was saying to him.
Loves his stats, Mark Wood, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know if he's a stats man or not, really, Mark Wood. I'm not sure.
Imagine he keeps an eye on the speed gun, if nothing else.
I think yeah, absolutely.
Well, they quite like Lords because they have this system here where it goes up on the scoreboard just to keep the fast bowlers going.
Yeah.
And of course, on the first day, when he was up in 93, 94 most of the time.
Robinson bowling to Williamson down the leg side. Neatly taken by Bracey. Tumbling to his left. It was Darren Gough who was the big speed gun watcher, wasn't he? The sort of the old-fashioned ones, and they had a reading amongst the advertising hoardings. He'd know exactly where it was. He'd puff his chest out.
It's why he pitched the ball up so much, really, because you get faster readings if you bowl a full length.
Yes. Pigeons gathering in the covers. Sociable ones. There's a little flock of them there, pecking around. Williamson waits. Robinson bowls him, hits him on the pad. Big, very confident. Appeal's given out.
Right.
It took some time.
He's having a think now. He's not going anywhere for a while. He's going to have a quick chat to his partner.
He's got to review it. They've got 3.
He is going to review it.
He's been given out, so the odds are already against him. As Richard Kettleborough, it did take a long time.
He's on the crease. That much I can tell you. Here we go.
Original decision is out. It's a fair delivery. So can we have a look at front on spin vision, please?
There's Robinson again, who's in the hunt here.
Okay, rock that back.
I'm
quite close to the inside edge. Okay. If we can have a look at ultra edge, please.
It flicks left pad before going into right.
I mean, it's a good shout. He's been given out, so that's encouraging for the bowling side.
It's a bail trimmer if it's out.
I think it could be an umpire's call.
Yeah.
Height will be a bit of an
Just waiting
issue.
for ultra edge.
And it looks very close to the bat, but the delay in Williamson's review suggests to me that he didn't think he'd hit it.
Indeed.
He did have a think before he reviewed. Bat's very close to it, but
Well, it's an important wicket, this.
yeah.
And we're waiting for ultra edge, which
Here
is
we go.
taking its time.
Ooh, there might be
Okay,
just
hold
a
it there,
flicker of
please.
that.
I'll describe that as a murmur on ultra edge.
Rock back.
We need to see what that little jaggedy bit lines up with.
We rock back.
A very
Go through
small murmur.
to catch the ball next to the inside edge.
I think that's an edge.
Yeah, I think so
Going
too.
to have to go back to Richard on field.
It's not a
I've
big
got
one.
spike when the ball is on the edge of the cricket bat. I'm going to have to ask you to reverse your decision.
And the amazing thing is that you're right. I mean, Williamson, if a batsman knows he's edged it,
He reviews straight away.
that's not out. But that wasn't the case there. I don't think Williamson knew he'd edged it.
No.
Well, the
Unless-
umpire clearly didn't. The bat was very close to the pad. There's a lot going on at the same time. The thud of the ball into bat. It did take the umpire a long time to give him out too. It's a little. It's not one of those sort of big spikes.
And I don't I'm just looking to see, could the bat have touched the pad along the way through? I don't think so. So, Richard Illingworth's come to his conclusion. Off we go.
Robinson again bowls, and Williamson was hit on the pad again. Another appeal for leg before wicket. Given not out this time. Certainly the way Williamson played that, it looked to be leg side. Root's been talked into 2 reviews so far, and they haven't been good ones. And the only reason that they've got one left,
He's reviewing
going for it. The only reason they've got this one left is because they got an umpire's call via a caught behind. I mean, it was a bizarre situation.
Well, we'll let this go. I've got
It's
a question.
Not out. It's a fair delivery.
It doesn't
can we
look
go
such a
to
good
front on
set
spin
somehow.
vision, please?
It didn't feel out from here, but you never know. We haven't got the very good view of it. He was certainly shoveling it into the leg side. It's hit the flat of
doesn't
the pad.
appear to be any bat involved. We'll have a look at ultra edge, please.
I think we're going to get an umpire's call and Rick Williamson will stay. That's my
Flat line.
That's my
Roll
tip.
it all the way through to the pad.
I think it's quite straight.
Okay, we've got no bat involved, so we can go to ball tracking when ready.
I think it's missing. But let's see. Here it comes. It is hitting the wicket.
Okay,
He's got
pitching
it.
outside off, impact in line. Wickets hitting. Go back to Richard on field. Richard, we're going to have to ask you to reverse your decision.
Yeah, that
on
is a
screen
bit of
now.
a surprise. Richard Illingworth's surprised, but
Well,
an umpire Kettleburn having to change his mind. He got a bit of a mess, Williamson. But the language from here was that he was pushing that into the leg side.
but he
He got a long way across.
He did. And it's clipping the top of leg stump, but firm enough for the red to come up rather than the orange.
Yep. Delight on Robinson's face.
He's on a hat-trick now, isn't he? Nearly.
Well, that's the one time that Root
was right.
pushed into a review. He didn't seem to want to do it to start with. He was persuaded, and it's right. It's overturned.
Well, Robinson is the man who's making the inroads. He's got 2 for 5, I think it is now. And he's in his 6th or 7th over. I want to know the answer in that review, the early review, when we had the appeal for caught behind when Anderson was bowling, which it was established had brushed and was given not out. It brushed the thigh. But then we saw that it was 2 reds and an orange. If that had been given out, the appeal, I'm sure, was for a caught behind. But if it was shown that he was given out and then you got an umpire's call for an LBW, is that a dismissal? Is that
Yes.
It is out.
That's why they show it.
So the umpire doesn't have to announce when he gives a decision.
No.
That's caught behind.
It sort of starts from scratch.
Right. Okay.
Which is why
Anyway.
that's why they got the umpire's call to be able to have that review then.
Yes, okay.
Because they got an umpire's call on LBW and they're appealing for a caught behind. Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of an anomaly, really.
Anyway, England have got their second wicket. They've got a night watchman in now.
We have Wagner.
Williamson's a big man to get rid of.
We've got a night watchman coming in to commentate as well. We've got We've got Dan Norcross coming in. See us through to the close.
He sometimes comes...
Charming.
The later it gets, the more he comes alive, I find.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a truth to that.
And it's quite a good entry, though. He's dragging himself in. Long lead on his microphone.
Yes. Splendid.
But England have got... If they could just nick a couple more, they'd add a bit of spice. Sun's just gone out.
Neil Wagner's an interesting choice of night watchman, isn't he? 3 slips and a gully. Robinson is in to him, and he defends beautifully into the offside. He's going to take a run, I suppose as he should do, maybe or maybe not. He's supposed to be protecting Latham at the other end, but he gets a single as he pushes the ball out to the offside.
Well, I think he's
58 for
protecting...
2.
He's at this stage, with 20 minutes to go, he's protecting the bloke
Protecting the
that's
bloke
still in
coming
the
in,
pavilion,
yes.
who is Ross Taylor, as it happens. I mean, he looks a really classy batsman sometimes.
Does.
Wagner, we saw in the first inning.
He played the shot of the match for me, off wood, off the back foot, through the covers.
Another left-hander in, of course.
3 slips, backward point, cover, mid-off. Latham on strike now. Robinson bowls to him. He covers up in defence to a full ball on off stump, pushes it back up the wicket. And there is no run. 58 for 2. Latham has 27. Wagner has 1. 1 ball left in this over. Robinson has the figures of 6.5 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 6. He's taken 6 wickets on his debut. His first innings figures were 4 for 75. So he's got 6 for 81.
The Robinson affair. Well, actually, he's Conway's test so far, but,
Yes.
But it's quite a 4 days so far for Ollie Robinson.
He's going to come round the wicket for the last ball of the over to the left-handed Latham and bowls a bouncer, which keeps Latham at that end, which was a smart bit of thinking because England would quite like to attack Wagner at the other end if they can prize out the night watchman and force Ross Taylor to emerge from his eyrie and face the music. 58 for 2, Latham 27, Wagner 1.
Kane Williamson out for 13 and 1 in this test. In his previous 3 tests, his scores were 251, 129, 21 and 238. The first innings of those against West Indies, the other 3 against Pakistan. And that was back December and January, so he's had 5 months with no red ball cricket.
Thank you.
Well, even Williamson needs a bit of time in the middle. I'm going to...
You off?
I'm going to leave you with the sage from Christchurch. Or,
Is that what we're going to call?
he's not from Christchurch. He's from Wellington, I think.
Right.
Wellington.
Wellington. We'll get to the bottom of it. Anderson is going to resume from the nursery end. Wagner on strike. 2 slips, a gully, a point cover. Mid-off, a mid-on. Quite a square mid-wicket. And a long leg. Here is Anderson. And Wagner is beaten outside the off stump. Played an unusual sort of non-shot at it, really. And then rather guiltily tried to pretend he hadn't played at it. But he did. Anderson has been wicketless in this innings, but he's not for want of trying. He's bowled pretty well, to say the least. He has none for 20 at the moment, as the sage can't work out how to put his headphones on. Anderson is into Wagner. Wagner plays with an angled bat into the gully region and runs along the ground, and there is no run. 58 for 2. The lead 161. The game, you would think, probably heading for a draw, but there may be a little twist this evening. There may be a little twist tomorrow morning. You don't know. The forecast is due to be a bit cloudy tomorrow. It might be more conducive. Sort of Lord's conditions that are tricky. I wonder. Anderson is in again, close to the off stump, and this time authentically left by Wagner through to the keeper. There's no run. Foxy Fowler got in touch to send his love. He's been listening in and loving hearing you.
How good to hear.
Yes. You would have sparred in your time, would you not?
Yes. I remember he got 100 on a very hot day at the Oval. And was run out, I think.
86?
No, I got 100.
No, 1986.
No, before that. 83, perhaps?
Oh, 83, right. Anderson's in, full ball, very full, almost Yorker length, and it's dug out up to Mark Wood at mid-off by Wagner. There's no run.
And I think he was carrying his helmet. He'll know. Mm-hmm. He'll know, and it just slowed him down enough for the run out. But he'd got 100.
Oh, he was run out?
Yes.
Yes. I think
Andy'll tell us. I'm sure the fingers are crackling.
Of course, because he wasn't playing by 86, was he? It would have been 83, right, 83, yeah. Here comes Anderson once more, and that's beaten again, and outside the off stump is Wagner. Another ball going across him, and then Wagner, like a proper batter, is sort of making gestures with his hands to Latham to tell him exactly what Anderson's doing, because he has no idea. Of course, he's an opening batter who's been facing him a lot. Wagner's helping him out there.
My word, England have bowled well. They have, all these bowlers have been pretty pinpoint. They've got a bit of movement.
Here is Anderson. Wagner pushes forward in splendid defence into the covers where Dan Lawrence does the fielding. There is no run. End of the over. A maiden over from Anderson. 58 for 2. We've got about a quarter of an hour, 13 minutes to go. Might get another 3 overs in. Yeah.
Graham Fowler run out for 105 off 299 balls.
Oh, a scintillating knock from Foxy, that one.
And the second innings.
And the bowlers?
The bowlers. Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to this, Jeremy. You were also run out in that game.
Yeah.
For 44. Richard Hadley 6 wickets in the first innings, then at 84. But England.
It was very hot though. And who?
Who are you asking? Who was New Zealand's most economical bowler?
No, I don't know that.
Who bowled 27 overs for 39 to get the crowd
Was
on
that
the edge
you?
of their
That
seats.
really drove them wild, didn't it?
Well, I think I was there. Yeah. It wasn't awfully memorable.
I've noticed you've lost a lot of your hair.
Bowls a
That's right,
full
yes.
ball into the onside as it's placed by Latham, who takes the single to expose Wagner to the strike, which he should do. 59 for 2. He's put 27 overs for 39 runs.
Oh, I don't know. It was. I knew it was a few overs because I often wasn't given a spell. And obviously, no one wanted to bowl in the heat. That was all.
What was that? Was that sort of Martin Snedden team? Would it be that? Hadley?
No, I think, Hadley, of course.
Yes.
Lees would have been there. Howarth would have been there. Wright would have been there.
Howarth's home ground. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the New Zealand bowling attack: Hadley, Chatfield, Cairns, Bracewell, few overs from Martin Crone, Jeff Howarth, and Jeremy Coney. He's parsimonious. 27 overs for 39.
That's what fled. Robinson in. Wagner is defending a full ball very well. He's got. I mean, we think about those wonderfully flamboyant shots he played in the first innings, but he's showing good defensive technique. We're seeing why New Zealand, I think, are one of the top sides in the world, because they do bat and they've got. They bat a long way down, and they've got a bit of flexibility in their approach as well.
They're having to fight very hard with this sort of bowling. I mean, Robinson as well. I mean, he's hitting the deck quite hard. A big, tall bowler.
He's in and is driven up to wide mid-off. Anderson will field. There's no run. Another full ball. He's trying to probe at those stumps.
And it's exactly what you want. You want on a pitch that's just up and down a little. With the newish ball, you want to be at the stumps, don't you, so that you can make the most of it. And tall bowlers hitting those areas that are straight, bringing the shots into play. Perhaps one just keeping a little bit low, one just nipping slightly to claim Williamson's wicket.
3 slips in, waiting as Robinson is in, and that beats the outside edge again. A lovely ball, just a little bit of movement away down the slope. Bowling from the pavilion end to the left-hander, and it's just gone past that outside edge into the gloves of Bracey. No run.
And then New Zealand's second innings, Jeremy. You remember?
No, we won't.
Dismissal.
We won't talk about that, especially not to Mr. Marks.
LBW marks for 2.
Sweeping.
Oh, just a bad shot.
Really?
Anyway.
But to the off spin as well. I mean, in those days you couldn't be out if you just put the big forward lunge in. Robinson's in, and that again beats the outside edge of Wagner's, but a little bit shorter this time. He's a bit rooted to the crease, but Robinson is getting the ball to move off the pitch. And wonderful thing about Robinson's bowling in this match has been he's got it to jag both ways, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been a handful, certainly.
Because 86, the game at the over in 86, that was Botham's comeback, wasn't it, after some rather wonky remarks. Am I right when he hit Derek Sterling for 24 in an over? Something of that sort. Did he get Bruce Edgar and Jeff Crow out to go past Lily's record?
That was right, I think you are
Outside
right.
the off stump through to the keeper, and there's no run. End of the over. 59 for 2. Wagner 1 off 12. Latham 28 from 67. We have 9 minutes to go. Might get more than 2. Might get 3 overs. England are rushing round for once. There's some urgency. It'll still leave, has to be said. Even if they got 3 overs in, it would leave 9 overs unbowled.
Yes.
And you know what? We started the day with 98 to be bowled to make up overs. And we're going to end up bowling fewer overs than are scheduled to be bowled in a regular day, despite having an hour more than the standard time to do it. And it hasn't been boiling hot, and they've lost some overs between innings, haven't they? No, they didn't, because it was tea, was it? They took tea, didn't they? So those overs didn't leave, so to speak. Anderson is in, and Latham leaves alone a ball outside the off stump into the gloves of Bracey. There's no run.
Well, I mean, as far as England are concerned, their role here at the moment is to just keep chipping away wickets if they can, and bowling tight, so that it reduces the number of runs if New Zealand are going to offer something to England, which I hope will transpire. I think it's always good to keep your... It's not going to be easy, I don't think, give the game away. That would be silly. But it'd be nice to think that they would leave something.
Anderson here again. It's worked into the onside of the hip by Latham, but he won't get a run for it. It's swiftly pounced on from mid-wicket.
The danger, of course, is just how many, and because the modern players love a chase nowadays, don't they? They seem to, and if you're going out to play shots, sometimes you actually end up playing you in a good frame, and you're going to hit the ball, and you play a little bit better rather than withdrawing into your defensive game. You're hitting the ball harder, so it can work for you.
Anderson in again, outside the off stump, left alone through to the keeper. Again, no run. 59 for 2. Runs have dried up, but New Zealand are just playing for the close here. The lead is 162. They're not in any danger at the moment.
Oh, another couple of wickets, it would start to
feel a bit.
Yes, a little bit
concerning. Yes,
I think so. That's But they have the runs.
They do.
And run making, as you pointed out, I think some time ago, hasn't been easy.
And then driven nicely by Latham into space. He'll get some runs here as it goes past diving Lawrence in the covers, and they'll come back for a couple. They do come back for a couple. 61 for 2. Yeah, no side's really been able to get on with it. When Burns initially was trying to get on with it, as he saw the tail emerge from the pavilion to keep him company, he struggled, didn't he? And he got a couple of shots away, and then that sort of gave him a bit of momentum. But it was a very brief period, and Conway actually, he was generally more fluent, but he was never really crashing it to all parts. He got to double 100 with a 6, but wasn't really, there haven't really been long extended passages of explosive batting. Anderson in, and that's worked nicely by Latham. Across his front pad, straight to short mid-wicket, but with a fuller face. He's not closing that face entirely, just playing the ball and then just turning the wrists at the very last minute. Latham on 30. One of the leading openers in world cricket over the last few years. Tom Latham, isn't he? Andy Zaltzman. He and Karuna Ratner for a while, although his form's dipped a bit. Anderson is in, driven, full, no timing. Up to Wood at mid-off. That's the end of the over, and Bracey's scampering down to the other end to try and get on with it, because we've got just under 5 minutes to go, and England would love to get 2 more overs in if they can.
So since the start of 2017, there are 23 opening batsmen who've batted 20 or more times in men's Test cricket. Tom Latham's average, 48.7 in that time, is the best of those 23 openers. 48 innings, 600s, and 9 other half-centuries.
Thank you. Now, I asked this question, and it's probably unfair, and I'm not sure any of us know the answer. But over rates, the people have been getting, the ICC have been trying to clamp down a bit on slow over rates.
They haven't.
Well, up to the point when they've sort of been threatening the odd captain with the odd, one-match ban. Here's Robinson, starts a new over, his last of the day. It will be short, wide outside the off-stump through to the keeper, no run. The question I'm asking is, since this isn't World Test Championship, does this fall outside the purview of the beak? Does the beak only sort of come in now that we're in World Test Championship territory, or is there somebody there who's going to be saying England and New Zealand, frankly, are many overs behind with their over rate? As Robinson is in, and that beats the outside edge. They think there's a bit of a nick on that from Wagner, but the umpire is unmoved, and actually it was only a brief sort of jazz hands from Bracey.
Well,
not out.
As far as over rates are concerned, they are poor. We all know that. They've tried to institute payments, haven't they, and copping the captain, and things like that. I personally think clearly I don't have to. It hasn't worked. So let me allow me to make a suggestion.
Robinson in, that's defended off the back foot, back up the wicket by Wagner. There's no run. Yes.
I think if the umpires are very clear and in close communication with the captain on the field, and let them know exactly. Look, Bill, you're an over 2 behind now. When you get 4 behind, we are going to remove a player from the field.
Wow.
We're going to take a player off the field, and they will be away from the field until you get your over rate back again.
Robinson's in, left alone well by Wagner, just around about waist height through to Bracey.
So suddenly, instead of 9 fieldsmen, you have 8.
Yes.
Because your over rate is too slow.
So you make the umpires the ultimate arbiters of that.
Absolutely. You let them know, let the captain know that they are going too slowly, and you keep them informed the whole time, so they haven't got really any reason to complain. You don't want perhaps it to be a question of always having to bring a spinner in.
Robinson's in, worked into the onside off the knee-height sort of ball up to Broad at a wide mid-on, and there's no run.
So I just feel that is a much better thing. Bowlers would not like it if suddenly there was a big gap appearing in the field where they would really like to be saving runs.
Or their second slip's got to go.
Or second slip has to go, yes, exactly. So just as a sort of a general thought.
Robinson in once more, and that's played uppishly by Wagner, down towards long leg. He was a bit uncomfortable with that. It popped on him a bit from over the wicket, came up to about waist height, and they get a single. Wagner will keep strike, 62 for 2, and we will get one more over in, I fancy, as we are not yet at 7 o'clock.
Maybe also, Dan, if it gets worse instead of getting better, another fielder goes at some point. So it's more costly than just having penalty runs added to extras or things like that. So I just think they could fix it. Well, I think that would fix it quite quickly, actually.
I need to inform our listeners of something first, and I'm going to ask a fundamental and almost existential question around it. Today at the Test, our highlight show, it's starting on BBC Two now. Or you can watch it at your leisure on the BBC iPlayer or see video clips on the website. It's entirely up to you, but if you would like to watch it now, you can go and watch it now. And there will be many people that you recognise on that programme and love dearly. 62 for 2. Andy, you wanted to...
just Ollie Robinson's figures for that outstanding spell.
Anderson starting the last over of the day, and he beats Wagner on the outside edge. Been beaten a few times as Wagner in this 19 ball innings. Those figures.
9 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 8.
absolutely exceptional. No, the question I'm going to ask is, and it may be a trifle heretical, but is it us who care more about over rates than anybody else? Sometimes you'll hear fans saying, we're being shortchanged, we're seeing less cricket. I'm trying to play devil's advocate as Anderson is in, pushed into the offside, fielded by Lawrence. There's no run because you come to a day at the cricket for all sorts of things, really.
Yes.
There's a specific number of balls that are bowled every day? And if it does matter that much, then wouldn't they have done something about it? Because they haven't. I'm sort of kind of reverse engineering the issue. I don't know.
I think players can do it. What are the county rules nowadays? How many overs do they?
I tell you, if you don't bowl the number of overs, it's 96, I think. If you don't bowl the overs, then you're in danger of losing points, and that resulted in Middlesex being relegated from Division 1 of the County Championship. As Anderson is in, it's driven into the offside nicely by Wagner. He doesn't take a single. There's no run.
So they get it through, do they?
Yeah.
Do they have to bowl lots of spin in order to achieve that?
Well, occasionally they do, and occasionally you get slightly farcical situations at the back end of a game.
Yes.
If a game is likely to be going into a draw,
yes,
or if a side's going to lose comfortably,
and they rush through
might
their overs,
lose with some slower bowlers coming in off two paces. Yeah. It doesn't happen that much, but the famous incident at the Oval when Middlesex were playing, as Anderson is in around the wicket, it's a bouncer which doesn't really get up and goes through to Bracey, to the right of Bracey, and Wagner just lets it sail by. When a crossbow bolt was fired onto the ground, and Middlesex were most upset because they'd intended to declare shortly after and then rush through an hour of meaningless nonsense, try and bowl 20 overs and get their over rate back. They didn't get the opportunity to do that. Their over rate was poor. They were penalised a couple of points, and the result was their relegation. So it has serious consequences. Beaten again, Wagner, on the outside edge by Anderson. And a beautiful ball from round the wicket this time. We have got one more ball left in the day's play. A day that started with England on 111 for 2. They eventually bowled out for 275, 100 from Rory Burns, the main feature. It's 164 runs scored by England and 62 runs scored by New Zealand. So only 226 runs today. You can see it's difficult to score as Anderson is in, and Wagner plays this very nicely off his legs straight to short square leg on the ground, and that completes the day's action. England have bowled terrifically well in this evening session. They were bowled out, I say on the stroke of tea. When they were out, tea was taken, and so in this lengthy final session of around about 2.5 hours, New Zealand have crawled really to 62 for 2 in the teeth of some fantastic bowling. Rory Burns is having his hand slapped and shaken because he's been the star of the day for England. But Ollie Robinson, we have to say, 2 for 8 in 9 overs, has bowled absolutely fantastically, and he's been supported today by good spells from Anderson and Broad. I guess I'm leaving you all be, but thoughts from Jeremy Coney on another scintillating day's cricket. Then Jonathan Agnew is going to take you through our podcast and reflections on the day.
Yeah, thanks. I really look. It's been an interesting day, hasn't it? There's been wickets falling. There's been bowlers who have really worked hard today and got reward. I think the wicket of Root early on was. He was a key ingredient to the day as it set up, and so New Zealand did well in the first session. At the back end of the innings they were a little bit lax, I felt, and England were getting back into the game, and then they have bowled extremely well, England.